Thank you. I'll call the meeting Board of Selectmen, March 25th, 2025, to order at 6:38 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We have a full house here. We have 5 online as well. Secretary's report is the first item on the agenda. Approve minutes from regular meeting of March 11th, 2025.
I move that we approve the meetings.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, our first audience of citizens. Public's reminded to state your name for the record. It's not a question and answer period, but we would love to listen to your comments and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wants to address the board at this time, we do have another audience of citizens later in the meeting. No, not yet? Okay, thank you. Number 4 on the agenda, tax rebates. The approval of tax rebates as submitted by the tax collector. There are only 2 this month, and they add up to $82.42.
I'll make a motion to approve the $82.42 in tax rebates.
I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 5, we have planning and zoning, discussion on several issues such as online permitting and the role of the building official under the Connecticut state statutes. Looks like Tony's here from planning and zoning, and anyone else joining you?
Yeah, I got Tim back there and Lisa.
Yeah, and I know Dick Layton's here, our building official, so.
Throw daggers at Tommy.
I'm just here for the facts. So at our first, excuse me, Tony Bowler. So at our March 20th meeting, we talked about advancement of the online permitting, and a couple of issues were raised by some neighbors. So I'm not going to give addresses, but 2 parcels in town came up for discussion, and there were permits issued by the building official without wetlands or planning and zoning sign off. And so planning and zoning debated what the action should be. So they wanted to address this by sending it to you guys. Make sure you explain to the building official that there's the Connecticut general statutes and the building code both require you, and Connecticut general statutes is the law, that you have to first wait for wetlands to sign off, then planning and zoning, and then the building official can sign off. So this is, I don't want to go too much into debates about this, but that is actually the course of action for this to happen. So, and after a little bit more debate, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted that we would like you to send those, and there are a few others. Again, we didn't want to bring those up at this moment, but if you would refer that to Codes and Standards, which is the state's version of, overseeing what went wrong.
And what happens when it's referred to codes and standards? Do they make a ruling? Do they come back? Is it?
So I guess they have an initial review of it. They look at whether it goes to an official review, and then they have a hearing about it. I have never been, so I don't know the standards, but that's the gist of what I've read on it.
So just so I understand, so you're saying 2 building permits were issued.
Yep.
They should have been also reviewed by zoning, signed off, reviewed by wetlands, signed off?
Yep, wetlands first, then zoning.
Before the building permit is issued?
Correct.
Okay.
And so one of them is an expansion of a non-conforming use. It's within the setback. So that one was a bigger of the 2 issues that we reviewed. Another one is, I'm not going to say it's lesser, but there's no setback issue there. So.
And how did this information come to your knowledge? Did people that own the parcels talk to you?
So person across the street for the one that is the expansion of the non-conforming use. The other one is so much in the public eye that if I told you which one it was, you'd drive by and go, yes, that one. So.
Are these isolated incidences, Tony, or pattern of this happening, or what's your observation as P&Z chair?
I've only looked at 4 of them. We just now have documents available online to go through, so I stopped at 4 and said that it's something that I shouldn't be doing, it's something that you guys should be doing.
So this has happened in the past, or?
It looks like it, yes.
So you're asking the Board of Selectmen to sort of send this up the chain to the state?
Correct.
Is that proper procedure, or do we bring in a independent party before it gets sent up to review, or?
So you guys can review it, but you'll see the same thing that we've seen. And the Planning and Zoning Commission thought it would be correct if it came from you guys instead of us setting it up. I mean, there's other courses of action that we talked about too, but that was the one that they voted on, so.
We
Okay.
probably can't do it in this type of meeting, but maybe an executive session.
Yes.
Maybe bring the building official in and have a discussion with us before we go up the chain and
Okay.
gather, I'd like to gather all information
Yep.
before running up a chain and let him
Yes.
defend himself one way or the other, and so we know what we're talking about, we go up the chain.
Okay.
That's just my, I don't,
Yeah, no,
That's
I
fine.
concur with that. Yeah, I think that's
We
proper.
can do it in fairly short order.
Do you want all planning and zoning or just myself and Dick?
Probably just you as chair would represent your group. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Considering you don't have an assistant, is it helpful to coordinate calendars while we're all sitting here physically?
No, we won't do that because we've got a long meeting, a lot of people here, so.
All right.
But I will reach out in the morning or tonight before I go home, check the calendar, send something out.
is this a sooner than later? Quicker?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay.
Now, is there a timeline on when the incident happened and when the complaint has to be filed or whatever?
There's no timeline.
No?
That's what I'm saying, sooner or later.
Yeah, okay.
And what happens in the meantime? Do these individuals continue doing work, or do they have a cease and desist?
So I don't know the process. So if you quickly look at like on the building official's website, it actually spells out the chain of how things happen. And so I'm not sure. I don't know the path forward because I've never been in this situation. So
Can we talk after the meeting? I'll help you out.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
okay. And then the only other thing was the online permitting.
Yeah, so how are we doing with the online permit?
So my opinion would be to use the one from SmartGov. I think we paid the $9,000 out of the grant money for that, and we have it on the P&Z budget to move forward with that, and it would probably help in this kind of situation. Again, you can't sign off on things without it being checked off by the correct person. From what we've watched, they are pretty close. Laserfish. So we did the 3 meetings. Out of the 3, the last meeting, they really stepped up their game. They're very close to SmartGov, but I think SmartGov has a leg up on them. They have the GIS that's integrated at some point, and they use the same payment system we already use. So,
And Laserfish is the one that RiverCog uses
yeah.
at this.
So, and in the end, when the grant is over with the RiverCog, they're $18,000 a year, and SmartGov's only $15,000. But you do get the 2 years of grant, so that's something that the town has to weigh.
What was
2
the
years
third
going
one?
forward, this year and then next year?
I believe so. And there's a possibility of extension, but I don't know if that's, you know how the government works, that may not happen.
And the third one was what?
Oh, so I was gonna say that,
Is that the grant?
yeah, so the grant was $9,000. We have the $15,000 for SmartGov under our budget, and Laserfish is 18. But that would be 2 years out.
So SmartGov was that Granicus or?
Granicus.
Yeah,
Granicus?
sorry.
Yeah.
They have 2 names.
That's all the, oh, gotcha. I
Yeah,
thought there were
SmartGov is
3.
the software, and Granis.
Okay, I remembered that online, but I didn't remember they were the same name. Okay.
Do other small communities like ours have online permitting?
There's
Or
a,
some
so Volantown is a good one. John Guskowski would tell us more, but he's in Ledger. There's populations that are smaller than ours that have this. I always refer to Lisa because she does it for the building department in Clinton, and it speeds the process up. People who aren't here, because we only have part-time 2 days a week, 2 days a week. So Zoe, our zoning enforcement officer, can sign in at any point and sign a permit, and help move it forward.
Carol, what are our next steps on making this decision? We had talked after looking at the last software display that we'd have another meeting. Are we set now with this input? Do we need another meeting, or What do we need to do to move it forward?
I think right now our finance was looking into that invoice that we have that we thought we had already paid one, and they're billing us now for a service that we don't have yet. So there was some question of the 14,000.
So I checked into that today, they had paid that one, so they paid the $9,000 and they paid up to date on the 14,970 something. So we are paid, and I think they just need to hit the button to launch. So I think that's what we're waiting on.
Okay. Well, I think we should have a meeting, because I'd like to still get the input from all the other players on those calls, which was the building department, and I think that would be fair to just make sure everybody's still on the same page.
And then I was going to throw last thing in, Dave, the filling in building official, actually uses online permitting in Essex.
Yeah, what do they use in Essex?
I don't know at the moment. I've never used that software that they're using, so hopefully.
I thought they
Does
were
he use
using
it,
something
does he do
different.
anything in Chester with online or no?
They're in the same boat we are, debating what to do. So,
All right, I'll reach out to the first selectman in Chester to see if they're close to bringing one on, because maybe since our building official works in both towns, that would be something.
yeah, and then, I mean, we had also asked, like I said, ask Dave, he may say the one in Essex is pretty good, and it's closer to Laserfish or SmartGov.
Right.
And then, you know, he can give us his input on that. And like I said, Lisa's available anytime, because she uses one that's very similar to SmartGov.
Okay.
And besides picking up the, we'll call them errors, this will speed up the process? Or
Yeah, so I can apply right now. Nobody's here, I can go home and apply. If need be, you know, we could make a donation for a laptop. The Chromebooks are really cheap to have one sitting here. Somebody could come in, fill it out. And if you get stuck, you can hit save and come back to it. You can come meet with the building official when he's in. You know, zoning when they're in, or wetlands. I know Bruce is on vacation for 2 weeks, so you can save it for 2 weeks, come in and say, hey, where did I miss here? And they'll help you through the process.
So, not putting Lisa on the spot. So Lisa, when you go to work in the morning, you sign on and you'll see anyone that's signed on for permits, and then you pass it on to the planning and zoning or in the wetlands. Is that how you do it?
The system that we use, I'm not familiar with the one that Tony's been talking about, but he says it's very similar to the one that I use, which is Viewpoint, that is administered by OpenGov. Very simple to use. They initially set it up the way you want it, and then I'm able to go in and manipulate that system at any time. There are very few things I can't do. I have to call the administrator and say, I need help with this, because there are just some things we're not IT, right? They develop the software. But yes, I go in, and when I sign in, the way that we're able to look at it is either all the departments and see what came in, or I can go just to the building department, which is what I am responsible for. So I go into the building department, I see all the permits that have come in. I get notifications, everything that's done in the system is notified by email, either to me or the other users and to the applicant. Everything goes out to them as an email, so it's very simple. I see what permits came in, I go into each permit. Every permit is different. I mean, even though they're similar, they're different. Our GIS is linked to it, so if a property is in a flood zone, it tags the zoning officer first to check for substantial improvement. If it's got wetlands, it tags the wetland officer to make sure that they can do their project. And if it is, what else do they have? You can put any layer you want on it to tag, so that people get notified. The right person gets notified to review it before it ever gets to me. Because I have a certification in zoning enforcement as an officer, I have a lot of knowledge about the way that all departments work. Mm-hmm. So I was able to go in after we got this, and I was able to set up my own workflow. I decided on which type of permits and which type of projects I wanted to have the zoning officer tagged, health department tagged. Sometimes I still have to look at it, because if an applicant doesn't answer a question the right way, which is like a yes or no, or picks the correct choice in the dropdown, that may not tag the right departments. Is your project gonna have a footprint change? They choose no. I look at it and I say, yes, it's a footprint change, so I went and I change it. Now it tags health and it tags zoning. I can manipulate it. It's fantastic.
So a quick question, I don't want to put Tim on the spot, but Tim's an electrician and he wants to do some electrical work at my house.
Right.
And he has to get a permit. So he goes through this online
Yes.
and it goes to all the different parties?
Yes, it's set up so that depending on what he chooses, the building application is set up in an electronic form. So you go in and you say type of project, and you give them a drop down, and they pick the type of project. Is it a new service? That will bring up a spot to put a CRS number, because you need that from Eversource. Is it just miscellaneous, like little outlets and stuff? Then it does, it's completely customizable. He can do it from his lazy boy in his living room. And today, everything is electronic as far as documents. So when the guys have to upload a workman's comp certificate, they have that as a PDF in their phone. Boom, uploaded, move forward. Pay with a credit card, move forward. I issue permits in 2 and 3 days. Permits are issued, done. Someone can call me on the phone, they can say, I'm stuck in here, can you help me? And I can go in and manipulate the system and I can get them through it. 5 minutes, they're all set.
Thank you for that.
I was gonna say, like I said, if somebody is stuck and they're not that capable, they can still come in and fill out a permit here, just like anywhere else, just like we're doing now.
Great, thank you. All right, so our next steps will be another meeting about the building official or those things, and then also with online permitting could be a separate meeting, but we can figure out how we're moving that forward.
Okay, same day or just 2 separate steps, or?
We can have 2 meetings, right, back to back if you want.
Yeah,
It'll
that'd
be
be
2
great.
separate meetings. Thank you.
Were you going to talk about the MS4?
I didn't see it on here. We did, if you don't mind me blabbing for 2 minutes. So we did put out a letter to you guys for MS4. So as the planning commission, I know the town is exempt from zoning, but the planning commission still has to chime in on policies that involve the entire town, which we just say yes or no. If we say no, you guys can still vote yes anyway. But we did have a couple of questions about the GIS, because there's a lot of stuff that they have. That'd be great if they'd let us add it to our website, be super useful.
Yeah, I had some questions coming back to you about your nice thorough letter before. We had a sit-down for the MS4, but,
Yeah.
so if you're going to touch on those, I was asking maybe the same answers.
Okay.
Like one was the public input forms or something like that, or how does the public make input?
Yes.
So,
And then, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did want to mention that one of the things that we did pick up on, that it's been in there for a while, is there's a pattern of septic failures on Hemlock Drive, and I know there's a plan to put the sewers up on Hemlock Drive, so maybe that's something we push on. It's in the Plan of Conservation Development, it's in the MS4 report, it's something we're supposed to expand, so maybe that's, a priority.
well, I know WPCA's been pushing for Hemlock in a while.
They-
Try to grab Valley while you're up there. Go
Yeah,
all the way up
that's-
and grab the school.
Right.
Who's got septic now under the new football field that's artificial turf. So if it fails, they have to cut it,
Right.
peel it back, fix it.
So-
I asked one of those meetings. And they described exactly how to cut it out, peel it.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be cheap.
Oh, yeah.
When I looked at the MS4 report, I was concerned. I circulated out, 18, 19 minor comments. And it just seems that a lot hasn't, it's always on there, going to get done, and then it doesn't. And I guess my understanding on it is a gating factors is weather screening. And I think our engineering company has to do the weather screening. So once they do that, then they can roll down and do the other 4 or 5 items. But also there were a number of things that said, well, this would be done by end of year 2024. And I just think the report should include what was done by 2024. And it's a little embarrassing that something's been sitting there since 2017, and every year it keeps saying, yes, it'll be done by the end of the year, and then it isn't done. Now, I don't know if this puts us in jeopardy with DEEP or another department or our health and welfare, but it just seems we should get on it in some way. And
Well, I think some of the work has been done, and that's just the report hasn't been updated. Some of those things that I read.
well, they did. This draft was updated. That we've got the most current report.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's some data that hasn't been inputted. But I don't, I'd really not like to, I'd like to go into this more depth, but maybe a different meeting, because it was not on the agenda. So if we have any residents out there that want to participate in this discussion, I feel like we're going to leave them out of it.
Yeah, maybe bring Eric in too.
So maybe put it on the next agenda, and that way whoever wants to discuss that from the town can come in.
That'd be great.
Okay. But thank you for all that input.
Thank you guys for hearing us.
Yeah. Okay, next on the agenda, Community Health Committee. We have a presentation and discussion of new proposed changes to the Social Services Ordinance, which can be found in our ordinances under, I think it's under administration, the first section of our ordinances. So Jackie is here from our CHC committee.
Thank you. So I don't know if you remember, but about a year ago, we updated our bylaws, which were reviewed by legal, and then you all approved them. They're up online. So we realized that the ordinance didn't match the bylaws. So I worked with a couple of members of the committee to update the ordinance, and I think you probably have copies in front of you. So just the changes, they're pretty simple that were made, is when the first ordinance was established in 2010, the Community Health Committee was established to advise the Board of Selectmen on all matters related to public health nursing, contracted nursing services, and administer the Memorial Fund. Well, we no longer have nursing services or a Memorial Fund. So we have changed the ordinance to state that the Community Health Committee was organized to do fundraising events to raise awareness to end hunger, support social services needs, including but not limited to supporting the food pantry and the backpack program. And we advise the Board of Selectmen on all matters related to public health versus public health nursing. And we're the liaison between the Social Services Department and the Deep River community. So that's how it was changed. And then lastly, we just removed a lot of verbiage around the development of the committee that says the first year, this is how many members, and that's no longer needed. So we just eliminated that.
So this would be the actual ordinance?
Yes, that would be the actual ordinance.
And would replace all of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it actually is in keeping with what we actually do.
I've read through it and I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So my understanding is once you've approved it, it now needs to go to a town meeting for approval.
Yes.
And I'm happy to speak at a town meeting about it as well.
Is there any thought about upping the number of members? It
So we
says-
now have 9 members, and I think that's sufficient.
Well,
I think
here,
It
you're
says
at
8, modified.
But originally, it shall be 5, so you've changed the number, and you want it to be 9?
So in the new ordinance, it says the membership of the committee shall be 8, but may be modified by the Board of Selectmen to a maximum of 9. Well, the person you're approving at next week's meeting will make us 9.
And 9 is a better number. Should we just change it to 9 instead of 8, allowing one more?
6 of 1, half dozen the other to me. I mean, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I don't think we need
Makes
any more
sense,
than
Ken.
9.
Well, I mean, if we're going to the town, you
Yeah,
might as
sure.
well have
Just-
all the changes now.
Okay, so just eliminate the 8 and say a maximum of 9 members? I can do that, sure.
I mean, that group is just amazing. You do so much that you need a couple extra bodies, you know? You
Well, we're
can
looking for
start with
volunteers
Cruiser
to
and
help
others.
us, but we don't actually need members on the committee.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but we're always looking for volunteers.
Absolutely,
So-
yeah.
So you want a motion to bring it to town meeting?
Sure. With the one
With a
correction
change?
of adding 8 and changes to 9.
Okay, I'll make a motion to bring to town meeting in the new ordinance for the health committee with the changes we discussed from the 8 members to 9 members.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Will it go to next week's meeting by any chance? Can it get on, or it's too late for that?
One more time?
Can it go to next No, it can't go to the end of the
She's asking for the 31st. I don't think
It had to have been
Oh,
posted.
no,
Okay.
because the legal notice has already been out.
Okay.
And it's posted.
All right.
But we have some planning and zoning changes, so we're hoping we'll just have like an ordinance town meeting where it's all just changes to ordinances or something.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Next item on the agenda is town meeting. Just wanted to remind residents that we have a town meeting coming up. The call of the meeting, I forgot to print, I was going to read it out, but it's appropriating approval to move some money from one account to another to refurbish, I think it's town hall repairs. Oh, we got the legal notice.
I think that's it.
Yeah. We're appointing Emily Chase to the Community Health Committee, and we're approving transfer $38,000 from fiscal year 2025 unassigned budget to town building repairs to replenish money that was spent to cover costs associated with mold remediation in the basement, and then to vote to adopt proposed changes to the town ordinance section 1, which is the procurement policy. So if everyone can please come March 31st, Monday at 6 p.m. upstairs. That would be great. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Sustainable CT Deep River. Let's talk about their solar program.
Yes, so I'm the chair of Sustainable Deep River, and the last meeting I was at, we talked about the energy campaign, and you approved it, and the grant has been submitted. So we're very excited about that, and we are starting to get some work done in anticipation of that grant being awarded. Another opportunity came up. We frequently work together with Sustainable Essex and Sustainable Chester, since we share a lot of activities and across the town. And so Sustainable Essex has done several energy campaigns, and they are getting ready to launch a new program to provide an option for people who want to put solar panels on their properties for residents to get it potentially at a discounted rate. And so they approached us and said, would you guys like to participate in this? And I said, well, we're going to do the energy campaign, and it seems to kind of make sense. We talked to Heat Smart. They said it's not a problem. Our focus is still the home energy solutions. You have to do that before you can even be approved to get solar panels. So the focus of the energy campaign is still what we talked about in the meeting, but this would be an option that residents would be brought aware of, and if they're thinking about getting solar panels, it might be an opportunity for them to get it at a discounted rate. So I have Lindsay Tomczyk here with me. She is chairing this program with Sustainable Essex. She just came from the Chester Board of Selectmen meeting to talk about the same thing, because Chester has just an hour ago decided they would sign on to this as well. So she is better able to describe how the program will work, and so I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay
Before you
Tomczyk.
start, could you just spell your name for me?
Sure, it's Lindsay. My last name is Tomscheck.
Thank you. I'm taking minutes. We don't have a secretary, so.
And before we get the details of the program, is your request that we include it in all the communication methods for the original program? We're talking about energy savings, or is this a whole second outreach and second?
No.
It'd be
So
one-
it would be folded in.
Okay.
And it would also be, it would be a light touch. In the letter, it would mention that solar might be an option if a homeowner is at that point. Most of I don't know how many of our residents have already done a home energy solutions survey. You have to do that first, and so that's really the main push. But if they're at a point where they've already done that, they've installed a heat pump, and now they're thinking, oh, I want to do solar, this would be something that we would let them know about. When we're tabling events or in marketing materials, we would possibly include that, but we need to make sure that however we do that, it is within the rules and guidelines of the grant that we've applied for. So we've been told by the grant-giving member at Eversource that this is something that they're fine with us doing, and have given us some guidelines with how we should communicate it. But so it would not be a separate mailing, it wouldn't be any additional expense, and Lindsay can address that as well.
Yeah, so Sustainable Essex is wrapping up our energy efficiency campaign. We did it last year. We got the Community Partnership Initiative grant We have a little money left over. That's not why we're doing the Solarize campaign, but it is convenient because Eversource has agreed that we can use that money to talk about and sort of publicize our Solarize campaign, as long as we're still talking about the Home Energy Solutions energy assessment. But I'm sure you've heard about a Solarize campaign before, but I thought I would just start by sort of quickly defining it. A Solarize campaign, it's a limited time, community-led effort to encourage citizens of a community to install solar. And the way it works is it's usually a volunteer-based group like ours that partner with a solar contracting company. What the solar contracting company gets out of this arrangement is, you know, the volunteers will do the marketing and the advertising campaign and do a lot of encouraging, and in return, the solar contracting company offers a predetermined group discount for anybody who signs up or signs a contract to go solar during the campaign period. And so Sustainable Essex, we're launching our campaign on April 22nd, it's Earth Day, and it will run until June 30th. And some of the things that we're going to be doing for this are we're going to be building a website, developing marketing materials, doing press releases. We are going to send another letter the same way that we did for our energy efficiency campaign. And as I just explained, that letter is going to be paid for with the community partnership dollars, which is wonderful news. We'll be doing a lot of social media stuff, and then everything sort of culminates in this public meeting / Solar 101 presentation that's going to happen at Essex Town Hall on May 14th at 6:30 p.m. So that's what we're going to be doing. The vendor has offered, the solar contractor has offered to extend the discount to residents of Chester and Deep River. And so, you know, the vendor doesn't need permission from anyone really to determine pricing for somebody who picks up the phone and gives them a call. But what I'm looking for is sort of the blessing from the Board of Selectmen in Chester and also Deep River. Of course, we have that from the Board of Selectmen in Essex, but I don't want to be including the words Deep River in any of my marketing materials, press release, anything like that, unless you are comfortable with it. And so the solar contracting company that we've selected is called Earthlight Technologies. There's a number of reasons why we're going with this group. They've been in business since 2008, which is showing quite a bit of longevity in the industry. They're consistently winning awards from the Connecticut Green Bank. The Connecticut Green Bank does an awards ceremony each year, and they're consistently winning multiple awards from them. They don't have any Better Business Bureau dings, which is important. They have excellent customer reviews. Pura is now publishing a list every year. They call it their 4 strikes list. You don't want to be on this list. It's kind of a naughty list. So they're not on that list, which is good. There are quite a few companies on that list, but they are not one of them. And then they get a really strong endorsement from some other energy activists in the region, and that was another big part of the reason for choosing this group. And then another reason why I think they're another reason why I think they're wonderful is I did a lot of vetting of them, and I actually work for a solar contracting company myself, so I really scrutinized this company and their proposals and the equipment and their installation techniques, all of that. I think they're a great company. And I'm not at all affiliated with them. My solar company is in Virginia, and I'm a remote employee, so I'm not at all associated with that company.
Is Earthlight from Connecticut?
Is there what?
Is Earthlight from Connecticut?
They are. They're in Ellington, Connecticut.
And it's L-I-G-H-T, light, or?
Earthlight, yep.
Yeah.
L-I-G-H-T, yep. One word, and then technologies.
So Sustainable Deep River is in favor of the
We
joint
are.
program?
We are, and it doesn't cost us any extra money. It's just a matter of you being comfortable that when Lindsay sends something out, if it, has the Deep River name or logo on it.
And another note, in my press releases and in my letters that I'm getting ready to draft, I am not planning on mentioning Earthlight Technologies. I'm planning on mentioning a vendor, a solar vendor. And there will be more information, on the back end, but maybe that makes you feel a little more comfortable. What you would be doing is supporting, an energy marketing campaign and not necessarily a private business. But there is, also a benefit to this idea of like a public-private partnership, but it's not something it's not going to say Earthlight Technologies in big letters in any of my materials. It might not say that at all, actually, so.
Will there be a review process through Sustainable Deep River of your materials, or will that go to Carol, or what will the PR review process be?
So the letter will have to be reviewed by Carol and then by Eversource. If we mention the Solarize campaign in the letter, and I absolutely would be happy to, send my marketing materials your way for approval before anything gets printed.
Would you like to, Carol, do you want to see that? Do you want me to?
I'd like to lay eyes on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm putting together a press release right now. I'm hoping to get it to the Valley Courier by the end of next week. So if I get it to you before then, I'd really like this to be published in their Earth Week publication or issue. So I can get that to you early next week. That'll be the kind of the bigger of the press releases that I'm planning, is the one that will go in the Valley Courier.
So your letter goes out, and how do the people get a hold of Earthlink then, or Earthlight?
So I'm actually making that decision this week. I think what I'm going to do is I'm developing a website that's going to be a page on Sustainable Essex's website, and I think that I'm going to point people there first, and it's going to talk about the campaign and bring people, again, to our town committee page. And then there will be a link to schedule a consultation with Earthlight, so that's how people can get to them. But I like the idea of them coming through Sustainable Essex first and then moving to Earthlight Technologies. And I'm also going to mention, I'm sorry.
Discount for the people? You said there was a discount if...
There is, yeah. So they've already agreed to a $3 per watt discount for anybody who signs up in the campaign period, which is an excellent price. And then there's a tier 2 discount if 10 or more people sign up, which I'm hoping happens. Then they have agreed to a $2.90 per watt discount, or price, I should
An
say.
additional $2.90.
No, it's going to go,
Okay.
the pricing is going to go from $3
I got it, from 3
watt
to $2.90. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
And then is that like in perpetuity, or is that like a limited $3
It's limited.
or $2.90? Like,
It's limited time. You have to sign a contract. You have to be under contract in the campaign period. So the campaign period runs till June 30th. I'm not sure how strict they're going to be with that. If somebody comes to them on July 5th and says, "I'm ready, I want to sign up," they may say, "Nope, sorry, you missed the campaign period." But I have a feeling that they might be a little loose on that, a little flexible.
So it's really a short and sweet, kind of intense
Right, exactly.
period. The other thing I want to make sure we mention is that, and I don't know if you're going to put this on the website or but to encourage people to get 3 bids.
Oh, yeah.
Don't just go with this one company. Like, make sure you like with anything,
Yeah.
get 3 companies and get 3 prices, and then you're making an informed decision.
Yeah, I'm going to put that on everything. I think that's a very important part of this. Just being a smart, responsible consumer. This is a big purchase. Do your homework. Get a few quotes. This is the company that we've vetted that's offering the discount, but there are plenty of other companies that can provide you with a quote.
So Sarah, when Sustainable sends out about the earth or home energy audits, excuse me, you're going to mention the solar piece as well, and then your letter is strictly about solar that's going out?
No, my letter can't be strictly about solar. It is the reason that Eversource agreed to pay for that letter is they want me to also talk about the home energy solutions assessment. So they said that I can announce the Solarize campaign. So I'm planning on making maybe 60% of the letter about the Solarize campaign and then doing a plug for the energy assessment. I may try 70-30 or 80-20.
But your letter is going to Essex residents.
Right.
But the
Right.
other press releases, marketing materials, when we table, like if we have events promoting our energy campaign, we'll have the Solarize information there as well.
Okay. So
So-
the letter won't be going out to our residents strictly about solar?
No.
No.
We'll still be doing the original letter.
And I just talked to Chester about this actually, and I think the idea is if there is going to be a mention about the Solarize campaign, because it's going to have to be in your first letter since the campaign ends on June 30th, I would think that it would just be sort of a very light touch, maybe
Yeah.
at the end, a mention of it with a website for more information, but I think Eversource is probably going to want 95% of your letter to be talking about the assessments.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess I need a motion to allow Lindsay to use Deep River and have us participate, our residents.
I make a motion that we take the nice offer from the Essex program, Lindsay's program, so that we can extend it to the Deep River residents as outlined today.
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
So will you send me kind of a little blurb that we can use, and even maybe in the minutes, something that's, technical but to the point, so that if somebody refers back to the minutes tonight.
Absolutely,
You know.
yep. And I actually printed a couple of things for you. One is just kind of a one-pager about the campaign itself, so you might have something in there about it. I'm happy to draft something a little more specific. And then the second page, I did kind of an analysis of payback time for going solar during this campaign.
Oh, great. Okay, no, this is probably perfect, Lindsay, thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
And I did say all in favor, and we passed it, right?
Yep.
Anything else, Sarah, from Sustainable?
No, I will have to reach out to you shortly. PACE is putting together, they're getting the website developed, they're doing the behind the scenes until the grant comes through, and so they're gonna need like a high-res picture of representing Deep River and a little quote from you saying how excited you are that we're gonna be doing this energy campaign. So I will reach out to you on all of those items. But we're all we had our sustainable meeting last week and we're all really excited about it, so.
Awesome.
Yes, it's a great opportunity for our residents.
Okay. We'll have to look for some good pictures of Deep River. They've been used so often, I'm sure they're not high resolution anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, and I see we have a lot of residents here from our teachers, even parents. Basically, on our agenda, it was just to talk generally to the town about the budgets. We have started our budget workshops as a town. Region 4 budget will be presented by Region 4 on April 1st. Everyone's encouraged to come out and hear that presentation. That'll be at John Winthrop at 7 p.m. That's a Tuesday. And then the Deep River Elementary School budget will be presented to the Board of Finance the next following week, 4/8. They were invited to come to our meeting and present their budget. As of now, it hasn't been presented to us. I was in attendance at a meeting last night. I was invited to over at the school, and I heard a lot of passion from the parents, which is just wonderful. My 4 kids went to school here too. I feel the same way, and all the comments were spot on. So I will definitely pass that on when we have the opportunity to discuss that budget when the superintendent and the financial director from Region 4 come to present that. So again, that's 4/8/25, and that is right here in the auditorium, or town hall, but probably in the auditorium. And budget workshops have started, so we don't have one tonight, but we pretty much have been meeting at least weekly, so we do have one that'll have to be scheduled.
The only thing we might add, Carol, is the 3 of us got a number of very passionate, well-written letters giving feedback, and maybe we can run those off and share them with the at the budget workshop so that our finance colleagues get to see the input.
Absolutely. And I did try to respond to several today. I did notice on my last look at emails, there was probably 3 or 4 that I haven't responded to, so I apologize. But again, well-written, and as Catherine said, they just they'll definitely be shared with the Board of Finance. All right, our next audience of citizens, again, people are reminded, state their name, keep your comments short, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. Yeah?
I'm Karen McLean, live at 37 Hillside Terrace. I guess I just respectfully, well, first I want to apologize if I get emotional, but I just want to express how passionate our families are about our education system. And it is a little disheartening to hear, honestly, about, administrative programs that are being considered at the town level when our education system is being cut in such a devastating way. Before the administration even presented to the board, there were several programs that were cut that would help administratively our schools. Your school is the heart of your town. It is the only organization that increases your property values. It is really where your families and the people that are here and willing to commit to the community live. And to be in a situation where at the third budget meeting, we're hearing about a $500,000 cut to our education system is so painful to moms, right? Like, we are moms and we want an education for our kids, and we moved here for that. And so I just wanted to express that to the Board of Selectmen and hope that you will take that into consideration as you vote.
Should I move?
No,
Is it okay?
he'll turn the camera if he needs.
Hi, Christina Flory, 61 Rosemont Drive. I sent one of these emails that Carol is referencing today, and Catherine and Dwayne and Catherine, I really appreciate you suggesting that they should be shared, because a lot of us did put a lot of time and effort into writing these, so I appreciate that you think that they should be shared widely. In this response from First Selectwoman Jones that was copied and pasted to a number of us, we all received the same exact response from her, which is upsetting given the amount of time and effort that we all put into our initial inquiries to the First Selectwoman, so that's very disappointing.
They weren't all the same, but okay. I know a bunch were, because I was kind of running out of time and I wanted to acknowledge.
Okay, about 6 or 8 of them were the same. But she said that they wanted to make the town look like the bad guy. And I'm not sure who the bad guy is here then if the town isn't asking for these cuts. No superintendent, no principal wants to make these cuts. I have spent my entire career in education. There is no way that the superintendent or the principal wants to get up there and almost cry talking about all the cuts that have to happen to our schools and to our programs. So without knowing who this person or group of people are who are asking for these cuts, it's really hard for us to make a decision. None of these cuts are so fundamental to our programs, right? These cuts get at the heart of our education system. These cuts hurt our most vulnerable students. They hurt our ML students, our multi-language learner students. They hurt our special ed students. They hurt our kids who need psychologists in the school, and behavioral health, and other kinds of paras in the school. I am all for regionalization, but that is a conversation down the line. That is not a conversation we are having today, and you cannot continue to strip our local schools until we have a regional model. It's unacceptable. These cuts are also being brought to us right before state funding. You realize that these teachers were told by their principal that they might not have a job right before they're supposed to be administering state tests. This is all just so cruelly timed and incredibly detrimental to our community. I can't even begin to fathom where this idea came from. I think that whoever the bad guy that Carol was referencing in her email is that they hope that this would come right under the rug and no one would be able to see it. And unfortunately, about 80 parents showed up last night, and over 20 people spoke out. And I see a lot of you here tonight, which is wonderful to see everyone here. This is not an issue that is going to go away. It's not going to go away now. It's not going to go away at election time. And as a lifelong Democrat, I'm disgusted by what this town has handed down from its hierarchy. I can tell you right now, almost every single person that I was sitting with who spoke out last night is also a lifelong Democrat. And we are not going to continue to vote with the party if this is what the town is giving us. It's an election year. We're willing to work with whoever's going to prioritize our kids, because our kids are the future of Deep River. And if you're not going to invest in our kids, we are not going to invest in you. We will move, and we will put our tax dollars and our votes somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Sarah Denegri, 63 West Elm Street. I'm kind of echoing my other ladies over here. Like, where did this number come from the cuts? Like, how did this all come about, and why was it presented last night the way it was? I'm sure it was somewhere, and I just must have missed it. But it was a really big shock hearing everything last night. It was really sad to hear the thoughts that you could cut field trips. Like, that was on the list of things to cut. I was like, wait, you're cutting field trips? Like, that was just like, it's like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel to even have a school open. So I'm confused. I would like a couple of answers as to why we were trying to cut our education funding. It didn't come together for me.
If you'd like to, I was just looking online to see if anyone had their hand up.
I think the other lady.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm Beth Resnick at 305 Main Street. I kind of want to echo what my other fellow moms have said. You know, my husband and I chose to live in Deep River because we're fortunate to have small class sizes. I don't see that as a detriment. I know that everyone's feeling the pinch of the economy and that every penny counts, and I understand that, but I don't live in Middletown because I don't want 23 kids in my kids' class. I don't live in East Lyme because I don't want 25 kids in my kids' class. We live in Deep River because we want 14 to 15. And if you consolidate and you get rid of a classroom teacher and you have one cohort of kids that you want to travel together, a group of 23 for 7 years, what's that going to do to that group of kids? You know, it's not fair to those children, it's not fair to those teachers. You know, and I shared last night that peer support is essential to children's growth and their development and their academic needs. And when you cut those fundings, like, you're taking away from the neediest population in that school. So I think a lot of the cuts that they're offering as a reduction, you know, to trim the budget, they're coming from the neediest kids in our building, and that's just not fair. And there has to be a better way. There has to be money you can take from somewhere else, because when you compare Deep River to Essex and Chester, we're already at a bare bones budget. I mean, I don't know as much about Chester, but I look at the Deep River teachers have to give so much more of themselves and their own pocketbooks to fund their classrooms in a way that I don't think other elementary schools do. And I think as a town, we should be supporting them in meeting every need that we can, as often as we can. We should be saying yes instead of no. Thank you. Thank you.
And we do want to support, and we do want to, and we will be sharing all your thoughts with the Board of Finance, who, you know, I mean, we make recommendations, but they really have the
And
sort
we
of the
will be
final
there
say with the.
to tell them everything that you've already
There
had
you
to hear
go.
too, because I think they need to hear it perhaps also with the same force and passion that everyone else has had to listen to.
I agree. So,
I'm gonna chime in here. Well, I'm gonna speak as a resident, not as a selectman. I commend every one of you people that wrote the letters, and I commend you all for showing up tonight and speaking. There's several people in this room here that are generational residents that went to Deep River Elementary School, including myself. That's why I'm still here. My cousin Tommy, we've been here for 80, 90 years, our families. I believe in the education. I served 14 years on the Board of Education. I know what the budgets are. And I'll be glad to say it on camera. Every time we get to the budget workshops, I say the same thing every year. And excuse my lingo, but this is how I talk. The Deep River Elementary School is the redheaded stepchild, because we take out the cuts on the elementary school, we beat them up, and in Region 4, which I support all education, but the Region 4 is a $20-some million budget, and we get 100 people out to vote for it. Not that we want to cut it, but the poor people in the elementary school get beat up every year. And I said that a month and a half ago, sitting right over here where this gentleman is. I'm very passionate like you are, ma'am. Okay, I take it serious because, again, my daughter went through this school several years ago. I went through it. Timmy went through it. John went through it. Gary went through it. Tommy went through it. We all care. We care about this is the future of our community. Maybe your son or daughter, maybe your son or daughter, maybe the next select person, maybe the next fire chief, anything. But they're going to give back to our community, which some of us have. So I echo your thoughts, and just so you understand, it didn't all come from the three of us up here. And I'm not going to point fingers, but there's a method how it works. And they're meeting in the other room. It's called the Board of Finance. Okay? They're the ultimate ones that say where the money comes and goes. So I understand people are very passionate, and I respect that. but when all the emails were directly at us three, it was sort of disheartening. I hear 1 second. It was a little disheartening because, again, I'm very passionate about education. So.
Sorry, Christina, for you. Mr. Gates, I really appreciate what you're saying, and I think a lot of this could have been avoided if Ms. Jones had spoken up last night at all. I mean, she had the opportunity to comment as a citizen. She did not. We were left thinking that this was responsible. If it had been made clear either last night or today in these emails that were sent that the Board of Finance is really who we need to be talking to, we are happy to speak to whoever we need to speak to. But in getting no response and getting just deflections and that I'm being made to look like the bad guy, it's not me. Well, who is it? You know, this is not helpful information, and it is not the way that we are able to mobilize as citizens for our kids. And I appreciate your passion, and I do believe that this board cares about our kids and cares about our education. But without a real vehicle for us to be able to express our opinion, who else are we supposed to turn to?
And I think it was important, and really appreciate the letters you sent, that you spoke last night. I got several calls today from people who had heard the discussions last night and the deep feelings with which the communications were made. It is a process. Last year was the first year I fully went through the process. We do, I don't know how many it is, 6 or 7 budget workshop sessions. We go through every department. The Board of Finance runs it. We're hand in hand with them. We'd like to dodge a bullet and say, but no, we're all together in this. We're all together. And we're looking at every single department, and it's tight. And one of the things that we balance as we look at this is, and Dwayne has also been very articulate in speaking about this in previous meetings, is about the person who can't make it if the mill is raised, if their tax rate goes up a mill. So these are some of the things we're balancing. I think to a person on the Board of Finance and on the Board of Selectmen, there is a deep respect for what parents and teachers are doing and what we need to do for the kids of our community. It absolutely is our future. It's our present and it's our future. Maybe there was communications across the board might have been done earlier or better, but at the end of the day, it's tough discussions we're having about money, and we're trying to balance all of the elements of the community.
Mm-hmm. And I apologize I didn't speak up last night. I was told that I shouldn't speak up last night by some of the powers that be. So I was invited to be there, asked to be there as the audience to hear the passion. Again, and that does help because when we go into the budget workshops, now we know what you guys are feeling. And, you know, a lot of times you don't want to do those things in a vacuum, but if there's not feedback, that is what happens sometimes. And then maybe decisions are made that aren't going to be popular once it gets out. So we really appreciate coming here, and we do passionately love our school. I mean, my 4 kids went there too and had a great experience. Teachers are great and all the programs, so.
And our kids deserve the same education that your kids received.
Absolutely.
It's go ahead.
No, I just want to say that I think it's really hard because if an entire mill is on the table, we don't know that. Like, nobody knows that that's what is on the table. And I fully supporting our people in the community that are, you know, struggling, and I think that we should address that, but there is a significant portion of this community that wants to support our schools, and we live here because of that. And so I fully support that. We should be supporting those people that are struggling in our town, but I think that's separate from pushing forward with making our town the best that it can possibly be. I don't know that it's a mill, a full mill that's on the table. I mean, we're talking
We're not there yet either.
Right, a relatively, like, that's a lot. And I don't know that what was put forward as a ultimately 1 point something increase after Region 4 is really gonna do that. And so I would really like to know what the actual cost is going to be to each individual in the town of Deep River if we maintain the school budget that our educators are telling us that they need. I am an educator. I know what the budget process is. I have done it for the last 15 years. I know how this works. I also know that what was presented last night is entirely in line with what other towns are putting forward for budgets. And actually, it's probably on the lower side. There are some towns that are putting forward an 8+% increase because things are much more expensive. So a 0% is not, oh, what we paid last year, because everything last year costs a lot more. Plus, there were people on that negotiation committee when they negotiated those contracts that agreed to contractual obligations. And so we need to now meet them. And there are a lot of things that we're putting forward in town which are wonderful, wonderful things, and I support all of them. But honestly, if I had known that it was going to be at the cost of our schools, that would have been nice information to know. That we were going to be in a dire financial position where we can't fund our schools. That's very different, and I didn't know that.
Well, the initial that was told to me outside of the official presentation was a 7.97% increase, which was $500,000. So $500,000 was the initial, which
And ours, in my district that I work in, was 8.1. We cut it down.
Right.
And all of these administrative programs that you guys are talking about were cut off the top. None of those things that make those teachers' lives easier were included in this budget. There's no additional programming, there are no additional positions, there are no additional anything. This is basically a flat budget at 6.41 that funds what we already have.
So if I may add, we're going to have a special session where the board comes in and speaks to, at a budget workshop, and takes us through everything. That's really the time, I believe, where we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
Great. We look forward to it.
I don't know, what did you say that's the 8th?
The 8th, right.
The 8th.
And I didn't know what was going to be presented last night either. They didn't tell me, they just asked me to come. So I was equally, I was writing tons of notes because I had never heard any of that, so.
So you didn't know what the Board of Finance was asking of the town?
We knew that there was, just take a look at keeping things flat. That's the same conversation that's happening with every other group that's coming in and presenting. We're not most likely going to be able to do that across the board, but we are looking at it because money's tight.
Yeah.
What some people don't understand, I believe they touched on it last night, I was not there, but I spoke to some individuals, is the MBR.
I'm fully familiar with them.
Right, so a lot of people don't understand it, so they can say, yeah, let's have a 0. Well, you're gonna be underneath your MBR, and then we're gonna get penalized. And we got penalized, I think 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, we got penalized $69,000 because it happened. So it's easy for people to say, cut it, but there's regulations and guidelines that you have to adhere to. So it's...
And usually MBR is in consideration when there are facilities improvements that end up in the school budget that are not going to be consistent increases, that should be in a town budget, that is repairing, building, whatever it is, that is not something that's going to continue on, and that is 100% fair. But to be fined for MBR is really, that's $69,000 that belongs to our kids.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we had to pay it back, so it went back to elementary school. I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago when Angus was here.
Okay, anyone else? So I have some people online.
John.
Anyone? Oh, I'm sorry.
Tomorrow night's the John Stack presentation here too, about consolidation at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Oh, yes, if anyone would like to come. Anyone online like to address the board? No? Can you all hear me? Doesn't look like anyone is. Let me just make sure my volume is up. Okay, going once, going twice? No? Okay. So, thank you for all the comments. Selectmen update. What should we update since we're kind of running out of time? 7:43.
Maybe we save it till the next time.
All right. I do want to just welcome our new Park and Rec Director, Kaylee Anderson. She started on Monday. And stop over at 56 High Street and meet her. She's a bundle of energy and very excited to be here. And I also just wanted to remember Dick Smith. Today is actually the anniversary of his passing 9 years ago today. Right after we finished a meeting, I think, and he went home. So anyway. All right, well, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting adjourned at 7:44.
Make a motion.
I second it.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
This is, again, hear ye, this is the regular March 2025 meeting of the Deep River Board of Finance. The Board of Finance started in the other room. We approved the minutes for the February 25th meeting. We also, in that meeting, talked with the chairman of the Park and Rec, who has asked for, what word should we give it? Asked if it is okay if they use approximately $35,000 of unused funds that were not spent by the director's salary, if they could reallocate those, and we said yes, and he will be back, maybe the whole commission will be back in April to tell us what they wish to do with them. So that is item one. Next item on our agenda would be audience of citizens. Any citizens wish to share? Hearing none. Tom, it is your time, your call.
Before I start, I just want to thank Anne Marie Ryan. She's been awesome here at Deep River for the last year and a half, and she's been a joy to work with, and I'm going to miss you, and I'm sure all of us will, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Tom.
So I'm just going over the general fund accounts. Let's see. And what should I say? Okay. First of all, look at the rates. The rates are actually, I'm great with the rates here. I think they're at 4.25%. Remember, the Feds lowered the rates twice, went down 50 basis points. We, at the different banks that I'm working with, they only went down 25 basis points, and that has stayed the same, hasn't moved since December 23rd, so I'm really, really happy to mention that. And if you look at, you'll be looking at the short-term investments. The town budgeted $55,000 for income, for interest income, and we're at $206,797, so over budget by $151,797. So that's
way to go,
nice
Tom.
boost. No, it's not to me. It's let's keep the rates where they are. That's been the big point there. You see, as far as the capital improvements borrow account, that did go down from the last month. We were up at 772,521. You'll see we're at 457,853. The reason for that is there was a transfer in the amount of $316,448.50. That was that's actually for the tanker truck for the fire department. So that actually happened when I was on vacation, and I thank Jane Mahler for making that transfer. It's great. So so that's where that is. And if you look at right now, so there's a balance of $457,853 that's still in that account, capital improvements borrow. And we've dispersed over $967,146. We've earned for that month, we've earned $1,799.83 in interest based on a 3% rate, which is the highest rate that we can get on that particular that account. The ARPA funds, that's the American Rescue Plan account. There's been from 2/20/2025 to 3/24/2025 in the last month that actually has we've dispersed $61,930 from that account. So the original amount that we received for the ARPA funds, $1,314,908, and we've got $409,022 left. So we've dispersed $905,886 of that. First of all, that money is pretty much spoken for now. It's just a matter of it's being dispersed and used. Wire transfers, actually, I was going back to January 28th since I missed last month. And from January 28th to March 24th, we've made 6 transfers for a total of $5,166,448.50. So 3 of those, actually, we were in the January. Most of those funds actually came from the Deep River General Fund account and went to our money market account at Liberty Bank. That was pretty much interest, the tax revenue that we had received. And it included, again, the February transfers was that $316,448.50 for the fire truck that actually went to Navigant Credit Union on behalf of, let's see, it's called On Scene LLC. So our ECS monies, that's Education Equalization Grant monies, for the fiscal year July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, we will receive $1,676,105. That's in 3 installments for the fiscal year. We've received the first 2 installments, one on October 31st, 2024 for $419,026.25. The same amount was received on January 31st. So that was a quarter, each of those was a quarter of the amount that we're supposed to receive. And the 3rd and final installment will be received on April 30th. Half the money's at $838,052.50. So that'll be coming up at the end of April. Let's see. Our total balances, if you look at the total balances at the bottom of this report, we're behind last year, or actually, I'm sorry, last month by $1,350,540. If we look at last year at the same time, we're ahead $328,957. Upcoming bond issue payments, we've got the six bonds with the town. The sewer construction bond, which is the Clean Water Fund project through the USDA, the one that we actually pay a monthly principal and interest payment. It's $16,914.76. That's due on March 31st, so it'll be coming up next week. After that payment is made, that balance will be down to, that we owe $217,347.76. That originally, the original amount of that particular bond issue, the principal amount was $3,375,000. So we only have 13 payments that remain on that particular bond issue. So once that's paid off in April of next year, 2026, that'll free up about almost $203,000 annual payment. So that will free up that money from the town. That's the only really bond issue that's due currently. The only other one that we have is the capital purchases through Dime Bank. We have an interest payment that's due on April 15th, and that's for $13,416.67. And pretty much that's it, unless anyone has any questions.
If interest rates change, does the bank immediately change ours, or do you have to chat with them?
They can. Well, I have a pretty good rapport going with actually Guilford Savings, Heidi Samuelson, and I have the same thing with Liberty Bank. They generally let me know before they're going to drop the rates. So, I can kind of, maybe barter with them a little bit. But it's surprising they've kept those rates the same. So, again, I'm very pleased about that because, as I said, the Feds dropped their rates twice, 50 basis points, and the banks only went down 25 basis points. So, we kept that at 4.25%. So that's great, and I hope it continues for a while. But that's been for the last 3 months. That has not changed.
Cool. And they do let you know. That is great.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do let me know. I'm trying to, especially when we were, when the feds were going to drop the rates. I was in contact with them pretty much on a weekly basis, and everything. It's kind of between those two banks. If one goes down, the other one usually follows suit. If we keep one where they are, the other one pretty much does the same. So
Tom, after you were elected, your charismatic ways to keep those rates high. So, all right. Does anyone have any additional questions for Tom?
Tom, I just have one. Is there any reason we keep Essex Savings Bank account open for $149 for the
No, I wish
auditorium?
there was. That's with the town hall restoration
Yeah.
fund. It's been brought up several times. I don't even know who's in charge of that now. I agree with you, Jack. That's ridiculous. It should be closed out, or they should use that money up right away or do it for some reason. But I have no
There's a line
idea.
item for the town hall auditorium. Maybe you could close it out and just put that little balance there.
I don't even know
Fit with the point
who the
of
contact
money.
person is for that. I mean, it used to be
Maybe
very.
Ted McKenzie?
Ted? Maybe, yeah.
No, Ted was
No?
off. This was the restoration committee kind of folded, and then the management committee was appointed to oversee that. We can spend that money.
Yeah.
There is a committee? There is a...
Well, I was chairperson.
I thought you were, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But a couple.
Now you know who to talk to.
There you go. I guess it's done.
But a couple light bulbs for the thing will cost $149. They have like specialty light bulbs, so we can easily, there's a couple needs up there that can spend that money, so.
All right. Okay, I'll put that in your lap,
All right.
Carol.
Thanks.
Thank you. No, I agree with you, and thank you, Jackie, for bringing that up.
Carol, it's up to you.
It's me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Remember what else I was going to bring forward. So the couple of the notes that I wrote, I'd like approval to spend $28,643.49. And that would be for the second digital sign. We're going to install it out at the transfer station. That would be $563 that we'd have to pay for Eversource to trench or get power from Eversource. About $18,500 to manufacture the sign. We already have the digital sign. The digital signs were both purchased with a grant, but we didn't have enough money to do the install and everything on the second sign. But we bought both signs while we could afford them, and then we also wanted the same model so that we could program them the same way. So those were
Do you have those
purchased.
funds yet? Is that what you mean?
So we already have the grant is gone, but we did buy that second digital sign like we have at Debit, but it's just the two panels. Everything else around it was built, the one at Debit. So we built the base and then the frame to put the two digital signs in. And there's two signs.
Mhm.
So they look like a back and a front, but there's actually two separate signs. So as you come north, you're looking at one. If you go south, you're looking at one. So with that grant, we had enough money to buy two more of the digital signs, so we did. They're in storage up at the DPW.
Well, my question is, are we in, you've got a grant fund. Are those dollars in the grant fund?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So we don't have to go to surplus to fund these purchases?
No, so what Carol's saying is the grant, we spent as much as we could out of that grant on these digital signs. When the budget for that grant was created, these signs were a bit more affordable. It took some time to get everything in place, and it ended up being a much more expensive overall project than initially anticipated by about $28,000.
So it'll cost $28,000 more to install the two signs we've got ready to install.
Yes, we own the two digital signs. We're just looking for the money to run electrical. It's going to be about $9,500. The actual building the sign and the frame and the base is about $18,500, and the Eversource bill is $563. So it adds up to $28,643.49 is what I'm looking for.
So So Emery, if you were still here, would you take each one of those pieces and put it into a different place in the budget? Or would you want us to do something in capital? Move money to capital? Or you have money in capital that could be...
Would be capital, yes, and there is money that could be used in capital.
Now, it's a big enough number that if we're not doing pieces, we have to go to the town.
Correct.
Board of Finance, what is your thoughts? It's a lot of money to be taken by surprise, by the way. Editorial comment not necessary.
Well, I think conceptually, I think having the notification out in the Winthrop side of town for emergency purposes is a positive for the town. So I'm in favor of what you're trying to accomplish. I think it's just about...
Where's the money coming from?
Money.
Well, the signs have been sitting there since we purchased them, so it's not something we have to put in tomorrow. It's just something that, if we can do that, then again, originally it was going to be outside of Platwood. Somebody suggested outside of the transfer station, which we think is a great idea, because then everybody coming down, it's the same people that'll see it if it's out at Platwood. But again, if people maybe don't come into town and they just go to the transfer station at home, or if they live up in Winthrop, then they wouldn't see it at Platwood. So that's just a figure that was given to me by Phil Taylor this week, who was doing the. So I thought I'd try to move it forward, but if it's something that needs to be tabled, then
Board
we
of
can do
Finance, do you
that.
wish to say yes, send it to a town meeting?
I would
Or
like
do
to
you wanna put it
know
in the
more
budget?
about where our surplus is and finalizing, the audit and all of that before we make that decision.
Wise.
If we could just wait, I know it's waiting another month.
We could put it in the
but I
budget
would-
if you wanted to,
Next year's budget.
next year's budget.
Well, I don't know that it could come out of surplus. I would just like to have a final number on all of that and how we're going to use that.
Oh, wise, okay. I tell you what, so we will, excellent question. We will not, board will not make anything, won't take action on it at the moment. Based on, we will want to see what our surplus is, which we can do. I think we can get a much better idea what surplus is, Anne Marie, you nod, at our next workshop.
Am I the only one that feels,
So just to be clear, the grant has already paid for the signs that we have. Those are already there and established and purchased what you now have wanting to put them at the transfer station, right? We already have that sign, but it just needs to be installed.
That's correct. We have
And the
two digital
installation is
signs, and then we go
$28,000?
back-to-back.
And the grant money is not going to support that. It needs to come out of some other fund, right?
That's correct. The grant, all the grant money was spent on various things, and we purchased all the digital sign, the actual components that look like the TV screens. We have purchased those. It's all the other.
Okay.
What would that cost if we were to buy just the digital signs? In other words, I'm assuming that cost has gone up since you purchased those.
I don't remember, were they 22,000 each, or? I think that it ended up being about 40,000 or something
For
just
the
for
two
the digital
signs.
signs.
Per sign or? each
And I
sign?
think it was that kind of, do you remember the original RFP? No. I think when the RFP was put out, the electrical was never included. The RFP was put out before that I took office, so that kind of got overlooked, I guess, or just figured get the big pieces of the hardware, figure the rest out. But yeah, at this point, we own the two signs.
Do you have the money in your building funds to do this without?
I don't know what's there
With us
now.
actively involved in it?
That is going to be on the next town meeting to get approved.
Well, you're restoring it, the dollars we spent, but you've still got unspent money in that line, don't you? Do you really need money from us?
From town hall repairs? Do you think this fits under a town hall repair
No, it's not town hall, it's town buildings.
or town buildings?
It's a university, yeah.
Oh, I thought it had to be a facility.
It's not really a repair, though.
Well, most of the stuff we come out of there doesn't have to be repaired, does it?
Is that maintenance or repair?
You have $50,000 in your general
Oh, yeah, you
capital
have $50,000 in capital.
that is not currently allocated to a project.
That's correct.
But the Board of Finance has the power to designate without going to town.
That's correct. We could take that 50. We had casual conversations about addressing upstairs. Did you have any?
I did, and I reached out to the gentleman, and he's going to come back out and look at it. Because Ted McKenzie told me the whole ceiling is not plaster. So I asked the gentleman to come back out in case his initial estimate of 30,000 might be less if it's not all plaster. But yes, that's where I was gonna move forward and use that 50,000, get the ceiling done in the auditorium, the stage. So we could open that back up for use.
All right, Board of Finance, what do you think? There's money in town repairs. Or the 50,000.
But we've already, are spending some of that. on
Well,
the
we
stage.
spent, we're restoring upstairs. How much do you think is unspent, not counting? We're going to put back 38 for the basement. What is left in that line item, do you think? A lot, if I remember. But I just made that answer up.
Well, these are the most recent numbers, Emery, I must print out.
So you'd have about $25,000 to $27,000 left. But if to Carol's point, the initial quote for the auditorium ceiling was $30,000, and we recently found out that the cost may go down to put $28,000 towards a sign install, and the remainder.
No, I just didn't know how comfortable you were with the going down part.
Oh, I'm not, I'm just,
But even so, whatever that difference is, so let's say it doesn't go down from 30. Your 30 and your 28 gets you to 58. The Board of Finance has the power to reallocate funds from another department into capital for that remaining $8,000.
go with the 8.
I'm going to reallocate the 20. All right. This is exciting, but I don't have an answer. Anyone have an idea what you want to do? I'm tempted to say spend that, go to it, spend their 50, come back to us with the ceiling.
So move forward, do the
Anybody,
sign
well,
with the
thoughts? Board of Finance, that was just an arbitrary thought on my part. But are you tolerant of allowing, using the 28, proceed? What is your thoughts, Board of Finance?
I'd like to know at least, if nothing else, know the cost of the ceiling.
Okay.
Just to make sure, because the price was last year, like at an absolute cost, and if it's as close to 58, then I'm comfortable with it. If they come in at 40,000 with the ceiling, I think we should revisit both and just make a decision which is more important to us.
All right. So
Us, the town.
So we're back to
us.
deferring this conversation.
Well, not
No problem.
necessarily. I think if you can do it within the 58, do it without coming back here. But if it's more than that, more than reallocating like $5,000 to $8,000 from some other budget, then we should revisit it.
All right. Excellent point. Are we giving Carol authority to spend 28,000 out of the capital?
No, you just.
I don't think you have to give her. It's her
No,
money
we're
to
gonna
spend.
table.
No, you're looking
table
at the
both.
ceiling right now. Not necessarily table it, but just have an absolute price on the ceiling and then move forward if you can do it within the 58,000.
Given that that capital is currently not allocated to a project, I would recommend a vote. If you're going to spend it on something, I think it should be voted on.
Well, last month, did we not vote on it going to the ceiling? 30,000 on going to the ceiling?
I don't think you voted on it.
I don't think we voted on it, did we?
not?
We talked about it,
Okay.
Yeah.
but, and nor do I think that if capital is committed in the budget, we have to opine on every project.
But it's,
It's at Carol's discretion to use the,
Yeah, I'm spending the 149 here without anybody giving me I'm buying light bulbs or something. Well, why don't I come back to your next Board of Finance meeting at the end of April, and then hopefully I'll have all the numbers.
Good
I mean, I
idea.
already have the number for the sign, like
come on to that.
28,000.
Okay.
So I move we table it until we get more figures from you.
Okay.
Table
Bring it
is.
up to our next meeting.
Table it is. Good. All right.
All right, so the next thing I want to ask for is $3,600 for HR consultants. We talked about this a little at the last meeting, or one of the workshops, but I wanted to officially ask for $36,000 to bring in the consultant to start working on the employee handbook. I know you talked about putting in a line item for on the selectmen for HR in the next budget.
In the job descriptions?
I guess you can touch on job descriptions too.
So did you say 3,600 or 36,000?
3,600, I'm so sorry,
I
3,600.
thought it was
I
36,000.
probably said that, only because I'm reading my notes without my glasses on. I probably said, yeah, 3,600.
And for that, she will-
What do you think? We had
Absolutely.
tentatively put 25 in the budget. Tentatively.
5,000.
25,000 in the budget, which seems to be more than, hopefully is more than enough to handle the money on employee handbook. It does not have to be done
Well, we
separately.
thought that would be a good starting spot, and then she's also agreed to do other consulting for as needed or something, if that's something we want to contract later on, but right now we would just bring her in. And, the price she gave me was for the handbook.
Is that for all departments?
That would just be the general handbook, and, yeah.
For
touch
just
on all
general
the budgets.
government, or would it go into other town departments?
All town departments.
All employees.
All employees.
All.
I think the handbook, I have to tell you, because I worked on it a little bit, and I'm not an HR person, is sorely missing a lot of critical stuff. Doesn't have a harassment policy, doesn't have an ethics, so it needs to be worked on. So I think this is a huge priority.
Priority prior to the budget, you don't like the budget number?
It's only $3,600. I don't think it should wait, honestly.
But offer a proposal. Do you wish to make it first, second?
To approve $3,600 for an HR consultant, I move that we approve $3,600 for an. Do we even need a motion? It's only $3,600.
I think Carol has
Yeah,
She has
yeah,
three
it's not your budget, so yeah, you do, correct. All right, go ahead,
said
second.
though a couple
Wait.
of
I'm sorry.
meetings ago that we were going to move forward on these job descriptions. Might you want to move this number up a bit and get that going too?
Well, right now, I've only talked to her about the employee handbook, so I don't have a number, if you're looking for a number at this point for job descriptions. But if the handbook isn't as time-consuming as she needs, then she won't spend all the 36. It would be like up to 36 to get it done. But we could say 5, and that way she has a little extra. But that's just a number, because she didn't quote me on that.
Exactly what is a handbook?
The employee handbook sort of kind of has all the rules and policies of the town. So as an employee, you'll be expected to follow like this harassment, policy or the ethics policy, and, like the ethics, we refer to the ordinance and.
Like behavioral policies, that sort of thing?
Just as a new employee, when you come in, when you've got a job and they hand you your employee handbook.
How you get paid, how you're expected,
Yeah.
it's,
If you
every
want to take a sick
organization has
day, who
one.
you report to, or your vacation has to be reported a certain way, or those kind of things, just general policies.
And the job descriptions, where would that fit in?
That was just something that, based on what had happened in the past, we thought maybe a revisit of the job descriptions with some tweaking. Some weren't spot on, others were maybe more spot on. The Board of Finance a while ago had approved a job, a survey for job descriptions. So it was something if we wanted that revisited.
It was on our parking lot. It was a priority 3 from a year ago. Target for June. I don't know if it was last June or this coming June, are my notes.
Well, there was some thought about reaching out to the woman that had done it originally, but she did not want to continue.
Right.
So.
But it seems to me like the job descriptions could be part of the 25,000. But the handbook, I think it's only fair to the employees as well as Carol to have a handbook that's up to date and.
Yeah.
And it's
hard to
woefully out of
enforce
date.
things.
And it's
if
woefully
there's
out of
nothing
date.
written down. So.
All right, so we got 1.
Well, we
Anyone
don't,
wants-
do we need
I don't
a
think we
motion?
need
We
a
don't need a
vote.
motion.
I think everyone here supports it. I don't think anyone.
Well, it's not in the budget now, so we have to bring it into the budget. We have to bring it into the budget, and we have to authorize money out of surplus.
No, I don't think you need authorization.
Doesn't she have money to spend that she can spend on that?
I do. I'll have some money online to spend.
Where would you take it out of?
Well, I don't have an assistant right now, so I'm going to have maybe some surplus money there.
And that's very
Our
bad.
salary. as secretary.
Are you going to move it out of assistance into another line item?
I could establish a separate account if the board wants to see that broken out. It would probably be wise. Especially if we're already going to move forward with putting money on that line in the next budget.
Okay, if all is happy. Let's go for it. All right, establish a none, so there's no incremental dollars that the board needs to commit this. Done, wise. All right, we're really cooking here. We're not spending any money. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff. We're not spending any money. This is good. So, yes, ma'am, go for it.
I was requested at the last, well, I didn't go to the last Firehouse Building Committee, but I had another engagement that time. They would like somebody from the Board of Finance to attend one of their meetings, at least once a month. They meet twice a month, and they think that would be helpful, just to have somebody.
And I wrote a note to the Board of Finance. Anyone interested in being a member of that committee?
And what does that mean, be a member? Just sit there and listen or do something?
You're actually going to be a... You actually
Chair,
Wait, can I interrupt
you?
may I?
Please.
So hi, Nick Kronacki, I'm the interim chair of the Firehouse Building Committee. As we approach our schedule, and as we build our schedule, and we approach our funding kind of preliminary schedule, it would be great to have somebody there just to help us understand the process as we start to define like what stages and what steps and phases we have and what it will take to release funding for us to then go ahead and procure a consultant for architectural services or civil services. So it's uncharted territory for us because we're contractors and construction folks and not necessarily finance folks. So our ask is like once a month to just come to a meeting, have a representative there and help guide us along the way. However, we understand that a lot of people in the town volunteer on several boards, including myself and others. So we can share those meeting minutes to y'all for your meeting, and if you want to read just what, where we are in our kind of process, so you can be better informed on what we're going to need in the future. That's kind of our stance there.
And
So
your
not as
meetings
a
and-
committee member, but just
Right.
to attend your meeting.
As
As
a
advisor.
support mechanism.
So a non-voting member, but
A
go
non-voting
to
member.
gather information.
Yep, to
and
be
listen.
and to be called on and maybe heard for consultation during the meeting, what have you. So you'd be recognized in the meeting more than maybe a member of the community. But
I could do that sometime, but I can't do it all the time.
yeah, that's all we're asking, and it would
So
only
I
be
can
in the
do it maybe
beginning.
once a month. Somebody else would have to do.
We're only asking for
other
once a month commitment.
But it sounds like you're asking
Twice, so
for
they're
a
Tuesday and
level of
Thursday.
expertise
Weeks.
that
Right.
I certainly know I don't have. I'm wondering if it's more, like you were talking about hiring a consultant with this, is it's more using the consultant to help with that? Because I wouldn't begin to know when we can release funds or how we're gonna,
Well, and I'm going to give a presentation here
Like,
whenever I'm called on the agenda, just to show you what our timeline is and what our projected values are, and then how the Board of Finance would then figure out how you secure that funding based on that projected schedule, working backwards from the referendum that was approved by the residents in November of last year.
I think it's a good idea just in terms of learning, gathering information, understanding, knowing what's going on instead of not.
And then we would also want to partner with you all on once we get the funding approved and committed, how do we come back to the board potentially for modifications, adjustments, that sort of thing, what that due process is, and that might help inform us during those meetings on what our next steps might be, whether we have to hit timing of the Board of Finance for that following month or what have you. So just again, it's once we have a sense of familiarity of the process and you all kind of your structure, then we could probably do that.
And we wouldn't expect answers if somebody doesn't have an answer to a question, but it might be that they can gather the information and bring it back to us the following.
Thank you.
And you're meeting Tuesdays?
Tuesdays and Thursdays,
But the
yes.
first Tuesday, third Thursday?
Correct.
What time? Carmela, is it working?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, perfect.
The other way around.
I said
First
perfect.
Thursday.
First Thursday,
I
second.
just volunteered you perfectly.
First Thursday,
so 6
second
o'clock.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry, is that okay?
I'm sorry, what?
I just volunteered you to show up at 6 o'clock on June 9th.
Well,
I said it was great.
The
I'll be there.
agenda, our schedule is posted on the town's website, but yes, we would love to have some participation.
so first Thursdays and what?
Third Tuesday.
Third Tuesdays?
Correct.
Well, I work in Hartford until 5 o'clock, so
Got it.
Meeting starts at 6.
Yeah.
maybe what?
Meeting starts at 6.
Okay.
So you got an hour from it.
It's
Hit the
really-
gas, hit the gas.
Drive fast, right?
It's serving dinner. Come
I'm
on.
sure Trooper Kraus will let you know.
Excellent. All right, you'll have an escort, you should get an escort.
Yeah.
Make sure you're here on time.
Important business.
Get a police escort, we'll send somebody up for you. That's exactly, cool. Excellent.
Just a Board of Ed, so I went to a meeting last night, I was invited to over at the school. Very passionate group of parents, so they might attend on the budget workshop where the superintendent and Board of Ed chair from Deep River Elementary, as well as the financial person from region, the central office will be here.
That's next week, right? No?
April 8th.
April 8th. Gotcha.
So I just wanted to share that they were very passionate, and they've written quite a few emails, and they did come to the Board of Selectmen meeting, so we will pass all that on to you to read, and hopefully you can use that in your consideration of that
Excellent.
line when you get to the budget for the
Yes.
school. And lastly, I just wanted to mention, although unless I forgot something, lastly, so November referendum, we approved the purchase of a brush truck, and the fire department put together a committee to look at the brush truck purchase, and they did their due diligence. They went out, test drove, and picked out some ones they liked, models, and looked into the financials and kind of, all the qualities that the things had, model numbers and all those. Anyway, so they are here tonight to present to you. They were looking for, I believe, $175,000 as a deposit. And with that, they would take title to the truck, so they start kind of getting it specialized and, like, So I will let them present, they'll do a much better job.
Yeah, so John's getting this set up. Right after the referendum, the fire officers had a couple of meetings. We formed 2 committees, one for the engine, which is already, that order's been placed, as you know. And then we formed a committee for the brush truck. John Ely ended up being the chairman of that committee. And we were asked at the selectmen's meeting, what is a brush truck? Typically, a brush truck is also called a forestry truck. It's designed to go into the woods, put out brush fires, forest fires, things like that. That's what we currently have. But when we met as an officers group with the committee, we really wanted the committee to try to focus on a piece of equipment that can do more than just being a brush truck. So they were tasked with that. John will kind of get into some of the details of the different trucks that they've looked at. They did a lot of field trips, met with a lot of other departments, looked at a lot of other trucks, got pros and cons from other departments that have done just this. So I'll let him speak now and kind of explain how they came to their conclusion.
All right, perfect. Thanks, everybody. So just like Tim said, chairman of the brush truck committee. So I guess the first thing we did after the referendum, we sat down, we met, formed a committee, which was November 10th, and we tried to figure out, we knew where we were, what the truck could do, what the truck had, and we were trying to figure out where we were trying to end up. So we need to start with a purpose. The purpose of the truck was primarily a brush truck or a forestry truck. We were looking to be able to do quick attack ability with tight driveways, ice, snow, mud, high water rescue, such as down at the River Lane area or the causeway. And then community service, we get a ton of calls for flooded basements. So right now, one of the things that we do with flooded basements is during the day, a lot of older folks come out, senior members, and they have to be able to pick up a generator, put it in the back of the truck, load the pumps, load the hose, and then go to the house. So that was one of the things we were thinking about, is having a built-in generator and being able to carry pumps on the truck so that it can be used more than just primarily a brush truck. So we did put together a wants and needs list to accomplish the goals that we set in the purpose page. We did put a lot of work into this and tried to maximize the bang for the buck. We used this list in the end. I'll show you some prices that I got, but everyone was given the same list so that they could not really bid, but just so we had an idea of prices to present to you guys. The committee there was 6 of us. We spent many days driving around to different departments in the area looking at different apparatus and vehicles. First stop was in Killingworth. We looked at their 2 trucks. The truck on the left is being replaced now, and the truck on the right at the time was being used for a responder vehicle for EMS as well. Now it's simply just a forestry truck. The truck is capable of doing some of the items that we were looking to do, but not very much more than what we currently had. So we took some notes, went to the next town, which was Durham, and eventually it'll be unblurry, I think, which was a little bit bigger truck, held more water. It had single rear wheels on it, which we thought we really liked until we drove the truck, and then that truck is primarily made for the woods. They don't really drive it too often on the road. They rely mainly for very off-road. They rely mainly on their UTVs or UTV, and this truck will actually fill their UTV. So again, it did some of the things, but didn't really check all of our boxes. So we kept going. We went to Moore Diesel in Portland. He's the dealer for Acela. So he demoed the truck, and I'll show you the video here. This hill where the truck is coming up is roughly about a 45-degree angle, and then into about a 4-foot ditch, and then out the other side, another 4 feet up. The video really doesn't do it justice. It's very impressive.
You guys really see that hill and that ditch.
So obviously this truck is not set up to be a fire truck in its current state. It's sitting with a hook lift on it, but that can all be taken off. So we went to look at it anyway. All the members actually drove the truck. It drove very well, surprisingly for the size of it. The dealer brought it down. We put it in the bay at Winthrop. It fits perfect. It's probably about 2 inches wider than our current truck, which I know the images make it look very deceiving. So we kept going, and the next stop was in Lyme. We went and looked at their forestry truck. This truck does a lot of things. It's mainly just made for the road again, though. I mean, for the woods. It does not handle very well on the road. They actually have it governed to 55 miles an hour, just for safety reasons. They use it mainly just for brush fires, though. There's no other purpose of that truck. So it did accomplish the brush truck aspect of what we were trying to do, but not any of the other things. So we took a ride to Haddam. We look at their International, which this truck would not fit into our firehouse, but it gave us an idea of a commercial cabin chassis. We could do a 2-door, and then the truck would fit. So we went there and looked, but as you can see, this truck, even though it looks very large, it's very low to the ground. So driving it in the woods really isn't an option, unfortunately. They use this truck to support their UTV as well. It holds 750 gallons of water, which is more water than we were looking to carry anyway, but The main purpose of that truck is to stay on state roads and to support their UTV. So, as I said, I sent out some prices. I sent out the list to get prices. One was from Spencer Manufacturing because we just bought the tanker from them. So we were an existing customer, so I thought maybe the bid process would be easier. So we did reach out to them. Their truck holds 250 gallons of water with 0 gallons of foam, which there's only one booster reel, 200 feet. Max pressure is 450 psi, or 450 gallons per minute at 190 psi. And that truck was $350,000. I called Vengeant in Pennsylvania. Sorry, I called a lot of people. That truck was an F550 as well. It had 290 gallons and it held 10 gallons of foam. It did hold 150 feet, only 150 feet of booster reel hose, which is what you use for a brush fire. It did have a smaller pump. It was 255 gallons per minute and 175 psi. Both of those trucks would not give you the ability to use a hand line to use for structure protection or structure fire in case of snow or mud or tight driveways. So they really didn't meet what we were trying to accomplish, even though we sent them the specs that we were trying to accomplish. So it was kind of weird, but that's what they could fit on an F550. So we reached out to Morton Diesel, and he could give us 500 gallons of water on that truck with 20 gallons of foam. There'd be 2 hose reels, 400 feet, so 200 feet on each hose reel. It gives you 600 gallons per minute at 260 psi. So it would give you the ability to run 2 hand lines off the truck in the case of snow or a tight driveway or something where you couldn't get a piece of apparatus in. And that truck actually came in the lease at $324,000. So, do you want to talk about or Carol already brought up the 174?
Yeah, so that $324,000 reflects a $10,000 trade-in value for the existing truck. So Morin Diesel is willing to give us $10,000 on a trade. We've kind of asked around and have gotten some feedback that is a good trade and a good number. It kind of makes for a cleaner transition for us, and I feel as the town, as opposed to having to go through the auction process with that after the fact. So we're able to retain the truck right up until the new truck is built. So that 324 is reflected, it already has the $10,000 taken off of it for the trade of the existing truck. You know, going down through, I know the numbers are numbers and it's kind of hard to understand, but that 600 gallons a minute at that pressure, a lot of time went into the pump itself. Working with, John was able to work with the manufacturer that builds the pump, and it's called the skid unit. So it's a water tank, pump, and engine combined. You can slide it in the back of any truck that will accept it. And John worked hand in hand with that company to actually make it better than what they originally were offering by going with a different manufacturer pump. They were quoting one manufacturer. He did some research with some help from a veteran member of our department, and going with another brand pump gave us the pump curve we needed. Getting along with what he's saying, so the booster lines, the 2 booster lines are for forest fires, brush fires. They're rubber hose. You can pull off 10 feet in flow water. You can pull off the whole thing in flow water. The ability to flow hand lines is what he's talking about in the case of a structure fire of some sort where we can't get in with any of the bigger apparatus, again, because of snow or mud or whatever the case may be. This truck it'll have 500 gallons of water to get started with, and the ability to feed it from the street from another piece of equipment or the new tanker or something like that, and flow attack lines, structural firefighting attack lines at the gallons per minute and the flow rate that they need at the nozzle to be effective. Yes?
And just to refresh us all, the recommendation to purchase this was in the official study that was done of what we needed.
Correct, yes.
So so it's not like we're coming up with something new. This was in the study.
Correct.
And this was in the package that was at the referendum that the townspeople voted on.
It's been approved to
So your request now is for how to fund it.
Our request is, you know, the committee did their job. They brought it to the Board of Fire Commissioners. They actually had the owner bring the truck down, the demo truck. So these numbers are also reflecting the fact that truck that's in the video is the truck that he would build on for the town of Deep River. It will not stay black. It would get repainted white. The hook lift, as John said, comes off the back. A fire body gets built. He has a whole list of specs with the generator being put on it, and hose reels and all of that stuff. So that truck is a demo that he has, that he is actually trying to sell currently right now. So there is a savings by being able to go with the demo. He also has done the trade-in as well. So yes, they did the presentation to Board of Fire Commissioners. Board of Fire Commissioners hands down voted unanimously to move forward to the Board of Selectmen, which we did 2 weeks ago tonight. And we are here. Carol asked us to do the presentation to you folks to be able to see kind of where they came, you know, how they landed with all of the research that they did. And the key is the $175,000. It's the initial payment for the contract that John has. But like Carol said earlier, that is for the truck itself. And when it's paid for, it would be then titled to the town of Deep River, registered, insured to the town of Deep River, so that we own the chassis and the truck. So God forbid something happens with the builder, the truck is owned by the town of Deep River.
How much was approved in the referendum for the trucks?
It was a lump sum, it didn't differentiate. What was the number?
So the overall number of this truck, so the current budget of the engine and this number of the 324 falls within the budget of both trucks presented without touching the contingency for either one. Now, this number ran a little higher than anticipated, but yet the engine number, baseline number, was a little bit lower. So we're still within budget, and we still do not touch either contingency by going with that low, you know, with that truck there.
I think it was approved for up to $2 million for the two vehicles.
Well, the referendum was $2 million.
Yeah.
Could the fire department cover that $175,000?
It would have to be presented to the membership. It would have to be agreed upon. It would then get tabled. Can they afford to do it? I don't know. I'd have to talk to the trustees, number one. So it would have to be a discussion with the trustees. We would have to go to a department meeting, be presented at a department meeting. It would have to then be voted on to table for a month, giving any members that might not be at that meeting the ability or the chance to come and speak and vote at the following meeting. So it would.
You couldn't accelerate that due to the excitement?
Cannot, bylaws and bylaws.
We can't give you the money without going to town. So you almost got the same time frame on that, but any thoughts, Board of Finance? Here's the issue, which I'm comfortable is solvable. Wasn't there a movie, It's Solvable, that Pink Panther? It goes as follows. If a town, the new rules say that if a town owns something, it's very limited on what you can actually lease. So if we take possession, there's some problems. I've talked to a couple of the, casually talked to a couple of these people, we can get through it. I'm very comfortable we can get through this. It's going to take some work with the accountants and the attorneys. Actually, it's the other way around. More with the attorneys than the accountants. We can if the town says to give it, it decides to give it, we should, I have a high comfort we can reimburse ourselves. I have a high comfort we can reimburse the fire department.
In the presentation that Tom did earlier, it was 400 and something thousand in a capital equipment fund. 400.
Correct, but there's certainly that's what we have in capital. This is not.
457, but that was like an equipment fund or something?
Oh,
No.
what he said, capital improvements borrow. Yeah,
That's stuff we've already approved. This is new. We'll have to go to the town and get this approved. Until we get the budget done, I do not believe that I can focus intently on the leases. So I suggest we'll have a lease done, if the budget passed, June, July, and we should be able to reimburse ourselves July, August. It'll have to come out of surplus, which, the reason we have surplus is to handle uncertainties like this.
Which is what Jackie just asked to see the final figure on when we do our budgeting.
She did. I don't know, do you wish to keep the same conversation going?
I just feel like we need to know what's in surplus.
It's a valid
Have a
question.
good answer on that before we spend it.
You want a dollar figure for our surplus as of June 30, 2024?
If you look at that surplus, remember the way we talk about surplus as percent of expenditure? It is recommended now that that number be 17%. The numbers that Anne Marie has from the auditors suggest using month end June 24 is about 15%. We assume that we would call upon about $500,000 in this year's budget. Anne Marie and I have to work on that. I suggest, well, I don't know what our numbers is this year, 14%? What will be surplus to what our next budget will be? 13%, 14%? I'm not sure we can answer that question yet. We don't know what our budget is yet.
Right. Plus, Bud, you had mentioned some concern that if we took something from surplus or committed something from surplus, that would impact how the auditors might rate us, which might then impact the rate we get on future funding for them.
Let's go to a yes. Let me change words.
Or do we have to consider that now?
If we find that the Department of Agriculture cannot provide a loan, and we need to go to a public bond, we will need to get a rating. Rating agencies are place a lot of weight on the magnitude of your surplus. Now, I don't know how to answer it. The recommendation is 17. Last year, 15. We're using funds. I think we're going to be in about the 14, maybe 15% area. I don't know. If we're going to do financings for either the firehouse and or fire trucks, they will not be in this budget. We simply do not know those numbers. So our current surplus is going to have to be able, that we present to the town, be able to handle those uncertainties. But I continue to think, with a high degree of confidence, also I keep throwing that is, in case this doesn't work out, you can't say you promised. High degree of confidence, we can reimburse ourselves sometime during the summer. If the town commits to this 175.
Without affecting our bond rate. If we have to get a bond rate.
I just don't, I know that that's going to be a consideration in our bond rating. I just don't know enough to be able to answer that. I don't know if 14, even 15 is going to be adequate.
But we're not going up, we're going down.
What's that again?
We're not going up, we're going down.
Right.
So I don't know.
So the other option is to wait until we have time to
see if we get
work on leasing.
But you have a window.
No, the other option, you have a window. The other option is we'll finish the budget, get confident, and know what that number is. And we'll pull some money out of that. As opposed to waiting till we do a bond. That's a long way. The assumption was that we wouldn't have to, when we talked about leasing, we would lease these trucks. Before we even began to construct the new structure, we would enter into a lease, and it would fund all of the payments. And I'm hoping to put both the trucks together. I'm hoping to keep, yes. But I'm starting. There's a great deal of support by the lease firms that they wish to participate with us. I'm just not certain haven't got into negotiation yet.
I think I mentioned it 2 weeks ago when we talked about it. The problem is that, like the big tanker it's going to take 2.5, 3 years to build, so you have time to get it. The brush truck, under normal circumstances, probably would have been 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. Problem is that they can buy this chassis today, which.
And that's what I was assuming. It
Which
was
is
going to
speed.
take 2 years, and I could enter into a lease,
Right.
pay along funds. But this is good for the town. I just.
We're saving money by buying a demo chassis, but it puts you in a different situation, because now you gotta find the money somewhere.
Now we gotta find the money, and I think we can reimburse ourselves, but it is up to you. I'm very confident, but I just can't guarantee. I keep throwing that in. I am extremely confident we will reimburse ourselves.
So how long would it take to work with the leasing companies to have a contract? Are we talking 3 months, 6 months?
Contracts with.
Or whatever it is, the leasing contract?
I don't think, once I can focus on it, it should not take more than a month and a half for us to enter into a lease.
And you can't focus on it until after May 15th?
That would be my hope, wouldn't it?
Okay,
I'm just trying, we gotta focus on the budget, it has to be my first.
Right.
I've had preliminary conversations,
Right.
these guys are ready to go, I'm just not ready to go.
So the earliest we would know is probably, I'm just trying to get a timeline here.
July.
June 1st or
Yeah.
July,
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Will this company wait that long?
Their truck is for sale now currently, so whether it's still there or not, we don't know. It's not gonna be held. It's not held now.
Again, I guess I'm leaning towards, let's go to the town and fund the 175. There's some uncertainty here, but I think we can do it. That's why we have a surplus, for surprises. Good surprises.
Surprise.
But, what's your thoughts, Board of Finance? Anne Marie's got a number. We'll talk about it at our next workshop to give you comfort. But until we get in front of the town and they approve it, I don't think you're gonna have absolute comfort.
Where did the town think the money was coming from in the first place for the firehouse and the fire
Referendum says
trucks?
we're going to finance it, which means, my assumption is before it was even built, 2 years, I would enter into a lease. All payments will be made by the leasing company.
So we talked about hiring this consultant from Madison to help with all of this thoughts. Could we not bring him on now to work on the leasing? Because I'm just worried, I don't want to say, cut my nose off to spite my face by loaning the money or pulling the money out of surplus, and then we suddenly decide that we're gonna bond it, but we can't get a bond rating that's
We don't have enough
because
surplus.
because we borrowed the 175,000. Because that will make things just worse. So could we not use this consultant to work with the leasing
We can.
companies?
Again, my concern is without Anne Marie here, it's all me. I just can't
Okay, I
focus
gotcha,
on
I gotcha.
everything.
Okay.
My assumption was,
I thought
yes,
we could just
it
add
is
him
time
to
to
it.
bring them in. And I just wondering how well we do with our workshops, the confidence I have. Again, I was gonna start working. I don't think we need him to do a lease, but it'd be nice to make sure they were. So, May 15th, your point, we'll start. We'll bring the consultant in, we'll get started. Maybe even a little early, but I can't, it just gets real hectic around April, May. What say you, Board of Finance, you want to go for it? Let's take a leap of faith, let's do it. Unless you wish to put more pressure on Tim to call all those people together at the firehouse and ask if they would come up with a 75. I feel
Understanding that
confident
they'll
we'll
get paid
reimbursed.
back in June or July.
I'm not sure we can move
Or
any
August or
quicker.
September.
I don't know if we can move any quicker than Tim can.
But you have more of a downside if it impacts our bond rating.
Right.
If it's the same amount of time and there's a possibility of a negative impact to the bond rating, I would go that route if it weren't too uncomfortable.
There's no guarantee the town will approve.
That's correct.
So there's
That's
more
correct.
risk
That
in
is very
bringing it
correct.
in
You
front
have a
of the
probably
town.
higher probability of the fire department approving, but that is correct. That's
Not-
correct.
We need a guarantee that it's coming back. That's where we're gonna get.
You get it.
What kind of guarantee would you like? I mean,
I don't know, it's, I can just hear it at the meeting, there's gonna be some concerns, I wanna make sure that the money is coming back.
Well, I wouldn't, I understand.
And I can't speak for the trustees,
Yeah.
they'll know financially where they're at and whatnot, and if they're gonna, if the trustees are gonna feel comfortable taking it to the membership. So we would start with the trustees and the treasurer. If they're okay with it, moving it forward, it'll go to the membership in April's meeting and then get tabled if it gets that far. But I don't know.
You can't call special meetings or anything?
Ms. Anne Marie,
Call a
wish to,
special meeting,
speak? I'm sorry.
the 1 month wouldn't change. So the moment when it's presented, it has to be tabled for a month till the next meeting. Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
again, not to poke the bear here, but I understand what you're saying, you know, make sure you get your money back. Well, let's flip the coin here. When you guys bought your truck and you said you would give us $125,000. So it's a good faith on both sides that we're gonna give you your money back.
Correct.
You know, and if we had to write
A note.
a note and have, you know, notarized by the attorney, just to make sure, if that would make the people feel better, but I mean, we did it with you guys, so hopefully, you know, we're just trying to get you your truck
No, I agree.
without losing it.
I can't speak.
I'm
for the
afraid
whole
that we're gonna lose
I
it.
can't speak for the whole membership.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. I'm just afraid that,
we'd have to start the process and see where it goes.
Well, maybe we should go down both roads at the same time, and whoever agrees first, that's where the money comes from.
That means Tim's gonna start, and we're gonna head to a town meeting, ask for 175?
Oh, I was thinking that we were gonna start working with a consultant and come May 15th. When we have the time to work with the leasing companies.
What's the consultant gonna do without me?
Oh, I don't know. I assume they're the experts.
They need to engage with Bud.
Okay.
They need to engage with somebody here, and he's the key person, and it's his bandwidth, because he's trying to get through the audit and the budget
Right.
process. And work.
That's my only concern is gotta get this budget work done, and then freeze up time, we'll do financings. Even with consultants, it's our town, that's my only slight concern. Anne Marie, you're raising your hand, very politely.
Just from a numerical perspective, $175,000 in your 24-25 budget would be about 0.8% of the surplus. Just for.
Well, again, we don't know what the surplus is, so it's hard for us to make an informed decision.
The draft financials give us a surplus as of June 30th, 2024 of $3.1 million. The unknown variable with it right now is how much of it we may use in the 25-26 budget.
And we can talk about this at the workshop next Tuesday. We'll have numbers, we can bring in percentages, we can talk about lots of things. If you can begin to get more comfortable with the level of dollars or how you traditionally talk about a percent, we can re-adjourn and move the money.
28% sounds relatively small.
Surplus.
What's that?
How did we get such a
Would
big
that
surplus?
impact
That's the highest I've
bonding
ever heard.
agencies that
I've
much?
never been through a budget.
Well,
Consider it my mouth.
remember, we've got a big-ass budget.
Coming up that we have to put together, decide. Have a lot of expenses coming up.
No,
We
I
do.
know.
We
But
do
still,
indeed.
we've never had a $3 million surplus.
Never
Have we?
thought.
Ever? So, I mean, when you say that figure, I'm saying you're thinking, oh, we're gonna have 800,000.
But that's at 15% where it's recommended at 17.
Right, but I'm just saying.
So
if
that's the issue for our bond rating.
Right,
It's kind of like being between a rock and a hard place right now.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's look for a workshop to give you comfort. I like moving it forward, but no one else seems to be as comfortable. To move on this truck, I feel comfortable we'll get ourselves reimbursed.
How?
When we do the financing, the leasing company will pay us. And it will then begin, they will begin to then add interest to what they're giving back to us. It's a borrowing from them.
So realistically, the leasing company will be engaged before we have to go to bonding. So that by then, if they're engaged, our surplus is repaid.
Exactly.
Our surplus withdrawal is repaid. That would all work out time-wise.
I certainly hope so. The uncertainty, yes, there's all sorts of uncertainties in that conversation. Does the USDA come in, or US Department of Agriculture come in, and our base plan is we're going to have a construction loan, or do we end up going to the public market?
But, you know, if the next, somewhere on the agenda is the discussion of the timing from the of the needs coming out of the building committee. How does that play into the monies that we're gonna need?
Well,
Would that be coming out of
brief
surplus
conversations
also?
Nick and I have had, I think the money to continue with the work they want to do, Nick should talk about it. I think the money that Nick initially wants, we have currently in the budget available. So, and he's gonna give me, sorry Nick, you and I practice this thing. He's gonna give us a yes, no, a no or no go. And then.
Do you want to segue into that now, or do you want to close this business?
I think we need to close this. I'm sorry, I took all the,
Yeah, no
I took
worries.
the conversation.
No,
Okay.
no problem. I'm happy to-
How do we wish to proceed? How about if I suggest we wait to the next workshop to get more comfortable with the surplus?
Good by me. What happened with state bonding too? Has anything been done with that? Has anything been, we applied for anything through Norm?
We've talked to people.
And-
Renee has been talking with people.
Did they apply for anything? Did anybody put in a bill for bonding for us?
I have not heard about that.
Renee is talking to people about doing a revenue bond. I do not think we need a revenue bond. I think we can go into the market all by ourselves. So, but no, nothing has been done. Renee wants to do a revenue bond. That's just more expensive. We can go in the market by ourselves, under our name.
We've been led to
We just
believe
have to
that,
get the
that by
bond.
them doing a bond, it would be less expensive. That's not the case?
It will be interest rate less expensive. I wish to encourage you until we get there, I don't know. Shorter borrowing periods. So the cash flow requirements will be greater every year.
Yeah, shorter term.
40 years with the USDA, 30 years with a bond is what I encourage you to consider.
So we're gonna wait a week and then come back on the discussion of the fire truck. the brush truck.
Excellent summary, if everyone is tolerant of that summary. Wait a
So
week.
no further questions for us. Someone will report back to us as to how you. No need for us to attend anything else further, is my question.
We're always welcome, you know that. Would you encourage Tim to
Yes.
approach his board?
But I would.
All right. A dual test.
It just sounds like I don't think you want to lose this chassis, so whatever funding we can get the quickest is the way we
Not
should
lose
go.
time. Yeah.
And not
Which
lose
is sort of
time.
why I lean to let's go. Let's take a leap of faith and get the money, save the chassis, make the rely upon budget of comfort that we will be reimbursed.
Save the
Town
chest.
meetings take time to schedule.
And as Carol's pointing out, you never know when you got.
So no matter what, we still have to go to town meeting.
We still have to do a town meeting regardless. If we determine that there's a better option in the interim, the town meeting could be canceled.
So I still think it's a good idea to approach your board, because if it got voted down, and I forgot I had to go to a town meeting, gets voted down at a town meeting, we're going down two paths at the same time. So I think that's a good idea, in my opinion, but I would still go down the two paths, that way one or the other can get canceled with whoever gets the money first.
So that means you're gonna move forward, we're going down your path tonight? Is that what you're saying?
That's my recommendation. It's got to, you should be uncomfortable with it, but that's my recommendation. Let's move forward.
Okay, I mean, I'm
Okay with it?
okay with it.
You don't care anymore about both surpluses? We're not gonna wait till next week? That's
No, I mean, if you're
Pressing
saying
on.
there's a $3 million surplus, we can always back down if something changes in the next week, but I think we need to all move forward that way.
We're
What
wasting
would
time.
change?
Because we're wasting time.
What would change?
So the cab and
I don't know.
chassis.
I don't have enough information to know that.
Oh, I thought you were.
No, I'm talking to Carmella.
No, I thought she was asking, yeah, I thought she was asking about what the difference of the price would be. That's all.
Oh, well, that would be interesting. What is it? What?
So we're saving about 25,000, plus the cost of paint, so about another 10. So we're saving like 35 grand by buying the demo unit.
Right.
Which is, you know, a big piece of money.
Does that deal expire, John, at any certain time?
When the truck sells.
When the truck sells, right?
If you were to buy it new and spend that 35,000 extra,
Mhm.
at what point would we need the financing?
Well, if, following Dwayne's, if it takes 2 years, we'll start.
Because if we're
before we
gonna
sign the
spend
contract.
35,000 on,
They turn around quickly.
Those trucks flood don't take that long, so that, you would
Oh,
still
okay.
need that funding right at the beginning.
Yeah, they're,
Oh, right at the
they're
beginning,
4 to 6
absolutely.
months, they're 4 to 6
Absolutely.
months out when you buy a new one off the
That's
lot.
fine, that's good. It just, it
But
would
you
have
still have
been
to
at
build
the
them.
beginning.
Correct, correct. But to get.
The truck itself.
Correct, so you still need the money relatively quick. It wouldn't be like a 2-year process like the engine or the tanker or anything like that.
Okay. All right, I need a first and second. Is my recommendation
Okay,
to
for the
move
minutes, please tell me what it is.
$175,000 to pay for the chassis to the town, to a town meeting.
say that again?
What's that?
Say that again?
Okay, it is my recommendation, I need a first or a second, I guess, I don't know, can I first? It's my recommendation that we move to a town meeting, request for $175,000 to pay for the chassis, okay? and
The
chassis.
brush truck?
Now, brush truck chassis. Now, question is, do we put on that with the expectation we will be reimbursed? I don't know, we have to talk to our attorneys on that one. I'm fearful, I think it is a very, very small probability that we will not be reimbursed. But I hate to put that on the call of the meeting. If I still have some uncertainty. Oh, we can work with our attorneys, that's my only concern.
So that needs to be determined first.
Well, or why? If it's just 100%, would you do it, if you didn't get reimbursed, would you still do it? That's what a surplus is for, is my assumption.
Again, without not knowing, I mean, you're asking us to make a decision blindly. You have information we don't have because you've been working on the budget. You've seen all this stuff, we haven't. So I don't know what else is out there that I would have to be worried about, what our mill rate's gonna be. I mean, I just think there's so many things that if you're now saying to me, well, we may not be able to pay the $175,000 back, that's a bigger issue.
Small probability, but I can't guarantee.
And why would we not be able to pay it back? Because we wouldn't have the money, or there's a legality?
Yes, there's legality. Unless the attorneys and the accountants are okay with it, you can't reimburse yourself.
Can't we find that out in the next week?
I feel confident we can do it. It's
That's
just
why
once
we were
work
putting it
with-
off for
Once
a
we
week.
start conversations with the financing
changed.
attorneys, we can iron this out. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable, but I can't guarantee that they'll be okay with it.
So do
Small,
You have
very
time
small.
to, you have time to reach out to the attorneys?
No,
Find this out?
no, I don't.
Okay.
It's
So-
a problem. I don't.
Is that something a board member could help you with?
If a board member is comfortable doing leasings and financings, yes.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm not.
I can call and ask questions.
So then I would like to ask that we just wait a week until we have all the answers to make sure.
So did you put a motion?
No,
Anybody put- all right.
nobody's,
Good.
I think
The uncertainty.
that
is
we
on-
just need to go down both roads at the same time, is my feeling. But we have to have the answers that, no, we can definitely reimburse ourselves. Because if we can't, I think we have to know that we're spending $175,000 out of surplus that we're not gonna get back, and we have to be comfortable with that as well.
I agree with Jackie.
So you can put that on your agenda for the next budget workshop and something to vote on at your budget workshop? Like an action?
We can't
I'm
vote
not
on
sure we'll vote on it,
Can't
but
vote.
yes, correct, it'll be on our agenda.
Well, then it could be a special meeting, so you could vote on it.
Why don't you have a motion that you'll move forward contingent on learning within a week? In
like
the
that.
affirmative, that you will legally be able to reimburse yourself.
Until the next meeting.
So you'll have a
Listen,
motion,
special meeting.
and then if we find out affirmatively, we can put it into action. If we find out negatively, it drops, and we take another action.
Are you gonna schedule the next town meeting? Like Anne Marie recommended to be able to cancel the meeting if it doesn't work out?
I'm not sure, Jackie wants to wait till next week.
No, I'm okay with what Katie
Schedule
said,
meeting.
is that the motion is to go ahead and move forward with it, with the understanding that we get legal and accounting's approval that we will get paid back.
Okay.
With the stipulation.
With the stipulation.
That we will be getting the approval.
Well, you could just call a special meeting before your budget workshop, because you're all together, and take your official vote, and then we'll move it forward to a town meeting.
We could do that Tuesday.
Because I'm not doing any kind of legal notice until I know.
My select board
Right.
is a special meeting, I am very, very restricted on what I can talk about and do. So it limits what I do at what we do at a workshop, unless we call a special meeting to follow the workshop.
Yeah,
That might be what we have to do.
That's what I said, or a special meeting to precede the workshop. Take one vote.
I
move
can't
this
proceed if
forward.
we're going to talk about it at the workshop.
Our workshop is next Tuesday.
You could go out.
No, I know, I'm just this motion, if by then, if you have the information, you call your special meeting, that's the only thing on the agenda. You make your vote, adjourn, and then you have your workshop, that's all.
But if we're going to talk about it at the workshop, how can I vote before the meeting, the workshop?
You could put the vote in the middle of the workshop. You could start the workshop, get an answer to this, stop that, pause it, have your special meeting, end the special meeting, go back into workshop.
Okay.
Okay, so.
We'll talk about it at the special meeting.
So let me just read the motion then. The motion is to move to town meeting the amount of $175,000 to move it from surplus to buy a chassis for a brush truck with the stipulation that the town can be reimbursed once lease agreement is signed.
That is what we're talking about, or that what the current discussion is?
That's the motion.
Tonight,
Tonight.
or at the special meeting?
No, tonight. You're
Tonight.
making the motion tonight. You're going to find out at the special meeting. You're going to have part of the workshop, get the information. Then you're going to go into special meeting and you're going to, do you need a vote then?
We won't need a vote because
You
we've
won't need a
approved
vote,
it.
no.
And we'll just learn the special meeting and we can inform the minute we know.
That's the way I'm interpreting it. Here's your resolution. If you decide at your workshop to abandon it, you'll take your resolution.
Well, we could abandon it tomorrow afternoon if we hear, we would just have to let everybody know. Because the motion is based on the fact that we can get reimbursed once the lease agreement's signed. So we've already agreed to go to a town meeting with this, but if we can't get reimbursed, then
Okay.
we don't move forward. If I've written this motion correctly.
So you have the motion, you need a first and a second to vote.
Correct.
All right, I'll move it.
My first unit. Who won?
Okay.
I don't know, it's chairman, I can first.
Now you need a discussion.
I need a second and then a discussion.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Where are you getting the leasing from?
Some lease
When will we
firms.
get that?
There's
to
3 firms
reimburse
that I've
it?
been talking with.
So we're abandoning any kind of federal money or state money or any kind of bonding?
We've never talked about this for the trucks, we've always talked about this for the building.
And the leasing rates of interest, are they comparable for bonding?
The last time we checked, it was 4% for the USDA. That has probably changed, and 6% for lease. We did talk, this is getting too confusing. If we went to a bond, we could probably structure the bond to also pay for the trucks. But there's just too many variables here. We need to deal with these trucks immediately. We may find a couple years from now, I wish I had done it differently, but we need to get these trucks now. And that's going to be leased. That's what we told the town we were going to do, a lease. So let's proceed.
So you have a motion and a first and a second.
Oh, and discussion. All those in favor of the motion as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All those who wish to abstain?
I don't know enough about it to vote for it yet. I don't have enough knowledge,
So you're
so I'm
abstaining.
going to say no.
Okay.
No or abstain?
I'll vote no.
Okay.
Three to one. Carries. We move forward. Slowly but certainly. Okay, all right, and I believe the two.
But I would just like to put in the minutes, so I want to make sure we're in agreement, that fire department's also going to move forward with looking
Correct,
at.
that's what I want you to
I'm going to move forward and start the discussion with the trustees, correct?
To borrow $175,000 from, okay.
All right. Thank you, and then, Carol, this is still your show. Do you have anything else you would like to talk about?
It's still my show.
Yes.
I have I used up my page here, so I'm good.
That's quite all right. You're lying.
And you've used up 6 of my pages.
That is true. Anne Marie, you were next on the agenda, but if you are tolerant, I'm going to ask Nick to step up.
Oh,
look at you.
Sure, thank you. So on behalf of the request from Carol and Kathleen, we, at the Deep River Firehouse, I'm sorry, so Nick Radke, I'm the interim chair of the Deep River Firehouse Building Committee, which was established in February, to oversee the design, the planning, and the budget of the new proposed firehouse, as per the referendum of $8,950,000 that was approved by the voters. So the board's met several times, and we faced 2 challenges. The first challenge is initial funding to get a no-go decision on the existing firehouse lot to ensure that we can build based on environmental concerns, floodplain, etc. Based off of that decision, if it's a go, the committee's committed to move forward quickly to get the next phase of the building construction started. What we've tried to do is outline those phases in a graph with some milestone dates, a few durations, and the proposed allocated costs for each phase. Our initial request will be up to $45,000 to do the feasibility study on the existing lot, which will give us the go, no-go decision. We anticipate a go decision, which means that lot is buildable. The trustees will then provide the title for the building lot next door, and we can start our planning phase. In that planning phase, which we anticipate being, well, we had April, but these, as we noted, these timelines will change. We have a preliminary design phase. This is assuming the lot's a go, which will do programmatic analysis, which will get us our basic design and understanding of what we need based on the conceptual design that Tim has already commissioned. From there, we would go and move into our design services phase. This is where we would hire our architecture and engineering firms to start doing the actual schematic, design development, drawings, and construction drawings for the firehouse. This is where you'll see, schematic design as floor plan and renderings. Design development starts to go more specifics around the mechanical systems, the layout, the site, and the civil. And then we would move into the construction and pre-construction phase, which would provide us with 50% construction drawings and then our permit set to go build. Kind of in that pre-construction phase of that $900,000 budget, we would bring in a construction management firm, which would help us with pre-construction. That would be value engineering, budget analysis at different milestones. So we would do a budget at 50% construction drawings and baseline our budget to say, are we tracking, are we not, are we over, are we under? Then do a 90% budget, how are we looking? And then that construction management firm would then go out for a public bid, get a guaranteed maximum price, and then we would award that and go for it. The last phase is the construction phase, which is a bell curve. Obviously, we would start low, and as the construction progresses through the lifespan of that duration, we would see a spike, and then it would slowly come back down. All that to say is, we're anticipating if we start April 2025, we would be finished in October 2027 with pretty much our last payment to that contractor. Those last 3 months would always be your closeout, your release of retention, etc. So that's why that bell curve is so steep at the end. So initially, we're looking for $45,000. We know we have roughly about $31,500 available for us potentially to use. That's enough to get going in order to get the no-go decision started. Obviously, this all goes away and we start over if we find that that lot is not buildable. Then we're in the committee's in a very different position. We are now looking at site assessments elsewhere in town, purchasing of sites, selling of others. So it's a very different discussion. So I want to focus tonight solely on assuming we are a go on that lot and work backwards from the amount of money that was approved in the referendum. And so that's what this graph tries to lay out in very simplistic form.
Is this all because of the new regulations around the water and flooding?
Yeah, there was some concern by the former first selectman who was commissioned to do some site survey and engineering on the site, that the site was not buildable due to the flood zone requirements. We have a consultant that doesn't disagree, but believes that the site is buildable with some modifications to the Deep River itself. But we don't know what those modifications are. We don't know to what extent. And so the go, no-go decision would allow us to have that information.
Okay. So you would have this person, this consultant would be able to say, this is what it's going to cost,
Correct.
more or less or the same to
Correct.
build on that site. Okay.
Correct. And then we would take, if it's a go, we would take that information and pass it off. We would then open an RFP for architecture and engineering services that would include civil and environmental. We would take that report, provide it to them, and then they would go out, give us a proposal, right? Qualifications, RFQ, RFP, and then we would award to the most qualified bidder to start the process to then design and engineer whatever the initial recommendation is on the go-no-go decision. And it could be simple things, right? Like, we don't know until we get the analysis done, but it could be, an engineered system on site. It could be, raising the topography. It could be widening a certain area of the Deep River itself. I think there's a lot, and I don't want to mislead you in saying we know, but that's what this initial study will provide us.
Flood maps change all the time. Is that always in a flood zone?
I believe so. I would have to double check with the committee and some of the folks that have been working on it. But I believe that, the site, the building's been there since, 1960, Tim, roughly. So, different time, different regulations, of course, things change over the years.
So Nick wants to take the money that is unused, it was committed to Firehouse. You seem to have better knowledge of the number, 31.5, or you're not?
30,092.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's right, all right. That has been approved. We do not need additional information.
I'd like to use that money as soon as possible to engage the consultant firm that we have to move forward with providing us that study.
You used 45 in your conversation. That means this board has to increase that 30,800 for you to proceed?
No, we would start with the approved amount, and then if we need additional funds, we would come back to this committee for that. But we would get the proposal from them.
Oh, okay, and you will know.
And we will know.
Okay,
yeah.
excellent.
But we don't want to get a proposal yet until we knew that funding was available to use for this purpose.
Excellent. Excellent.
So if it's a go at our next regular meeting, I'll report back and let them know that we do have that funding available and we should move forward.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
The next part would be, if it's a go, I just wanted to call out that we would be seeking, and I put funded together for schematic design development, and construction drawings, because we would go out for RFQ for design services as one package. Those payments will be made at certain deliverables, so, schematic design would be delivered, we would release payment. Design development would be then delivered, we would release payment. So there's a progress payment once we engage the design engineer. So we wouldn't need initial funding right away to engage the design engineer, but we would need funding releases, through a schedule of values.
And this is where we will, if the USDA does not continue to smile upon our application, that's where we need the financing consultants to come in and help us figure out the funding and the timing. When we built the sewer plant, what we did was short-term borrowings that once the project was finished, we then took out to a bond. I hope we can do the same. I'm uncomfortable borrowing $9 million, right, and having it sit. If that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. And you draw upon his need. I'd like to do incremental. That's what we need the consultant.
Well, yeah, and that's why we tried to provide you with this timeline of milestone kind of disbursements, right? When we anticipate those funds to be ready for us to draw down on. And so, for instance, August 2025 to August 2026 will be our design phase. We would need to start drawing down on that as soon as August, but then final payment would be delivered in August of next year, right? So just trying to give you, and as the board continues to develop the schedule, we'll have more finite milestones to report on, but right now this is the high level, and we'll kind of fill in the gaps in between these critical milestones.
There's gonna be tension, but anyhow, we'll get through it. Let's get a yes, no. It is my opinion, and Nick seems to agree, that if we don't get a yes, that this site is good, in that budget, we have a different story to tell.
The board has different priorities to follow up on, and then
The town did not approve another site.
Town did not approve not going to another site, it's just approved to build a fire.
I believe that you and I told the town, here's the project, here's the pictures of it, here's the dollar amount on that site. I question whether an attorney would say you got a generic approval. I think we have to go back if you get a no.
Go back to
The
the
town
attorney on
citizens.
how it.
If the attorney says you got an approval for that project, that dollar amount on that site, then you're fine. And that's the no-go. If you come back and say, I'm going to another site, it's a different project, say I, we'll have to talk to our accounting, our.
That I agree with. I don't think we can say right here and now that it will have to go back to the townspeople. We don't know that.
If you come in with a yes, this is a go, and you can do it that site on that dollar amount, I think you're fine.
Yeah,
If it come back and say it's a no on that site, we still need to, I would think you have to talk to the attorney to see how it was written on that ballot.
Correct. That is correct.
We can't say now here tonight that it definitely, if it
correct.
doesn't work on that site.
That is
we have to go
absolutely
back to
correct. I have not wanted to get an attorney involved, because we'll have to start paying.
And I agree with that.
But before we went back to the town, it would be great if the committee could do the work to evaluate other sites and the cost and come up with a number to go back to the town with, because there would be, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But it'd be
Yes.
buying new property, maybe selling a piece of property. We
Yeah,
don't
it's
know what
hypothetical,
that
we
is.
don't know yet, and I think we would have to be, the committee itself wasn't stood up to be a site identification committee, so I think we would have to discuss that, how that, maybe bring on additional members that are more focused on real estate. Like, that's not the folks on this committee are builders. We are committed to building what the citizens approved, and that's why we're there. And that's my challenge and my goal as the chair is to drive that.
Perfect.
We have a job to do, that's to build it per the budget that was approved, and we're gonna do that.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
I may have missed this here. The 180,000 we're gonna need between April and August.
Yeah.
We're almost to April. So-
Yeah, and that's when we were kind of starting the baseline, like where we are. The $180,000 would roughly be the programmatic work that we would need. So we know what the needs assessment are based on the report, but we would need to hire a consultant to come in and start doing all of the work for Tim of what's your apparatus, what's your storage capacity. That's where that number comes in.
So when do we have to secure that from?
Once you give us a yes or no, we can go out and do
secure that.
financings.
We would need that money right away. If we get a yes, we would need that 180 secured so we can go forward with our next stage.
This work gets real confusing. If we go to USDA, they're going to approve it, probably not till August is what they told us. But we've used so much of the time, I don't know.
Well, and our timeline can shift within reason, right? Like, we'll reallocate our timelines based on your funding timelines. It doesn't mean we can't procure and secure a consultant from to do that work. We just need to know when they're gonna wanna be billed, and then we can report that to the Board of Finance and our meetings. And then you'll have a good sense of, we can start in April, they're gonna wanna bill in July, right? Because we have net terms with the town, I don't know what they are, 30, 90, 60 days. Right? So by the time we get a bill, how long do we have to render it?
Yes. All right, we're beginning. You're going to spend Anne Marie's $30,800.
Yeah.
And before you spend that, if you need more, you're coming back to this board.
Correct.
Because this board will have to allocate additional dollars.
Correct.
All right. Done.
Can you send me that via email, whatever?
All right,
you have?
thank you
Sure.
very much.
Minutes?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Very
Thank
much.
you. Appreciate it.
All right. Now, Nick, we should share, Nick is a rather experienced construction guy. You actually do, let's give your credibility, you work for the firm that is doing these supermarkets that...
Yeah, I'm the global head of construction for Amazon for Autonomous Retail Solutions. You put your foot under it.
So are you still doing those stores that people just walk into and
just
walk
walk
out? And walk out. How about that for credibility, everyone? All right, speaking of credibility, with tears in our eyes, we turn to Anne Marie Ryan, our finance director.
Thank you for that introduction. Okay.
I also think the Board of Finance should recognize Anne Marie and thank her for the year and a half. We're going to miss you.
Sure.
And I know this is your last meeting, and it's been a great pleasure.
This is your last meeting. I'll be at the
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. I suspect that once you get Deep River in your blood, you'll never get it out.
I can't wait to...
Always be a Deep River girl, like who's the song goes.
Keep me on the mailing list for the grand opening of the firehouse.
We shall.
No, in all
Your
seriousness.
children will probably be in college by then, but that's okay. Yes, go ahead.
In all seriousness, though, thank you so much, all of you, for giving me this opportunity. I have learned so much and really enjoyed working with all of you. And with that, I am doing my best to wrap up a bunch of kind of heavy items before I go. As far as this agenda goes, we are getting pretty close to, this says the 24-25 audit. We're working on the 23-24 audit, and we are getting close to wrapping it up. The auditors are shooting for a goal of issuing financials by March 31st. I have one more analytical piece outstanding to send to them, and hopefully we will be in good working order. So I'm fairly confident that I'll have that wrapped up before I go. But one of the last remaining items for me to give them, they've asked that we take a look at the 23-24 budget, and I've handed you all a worksheet entitled 23-24 budget rebalancing. We go through this process every year where we look at each department and determine those that have overspent their total budget. And then the auditors just ask us to do this more for the optics of the financials so that things look a little bit cleaner when they actually put everything out. So I essentially go through and I find the departments that have been overspent, and I make them whole, and then I find budgets that were underspent, and I remove funds from there to cover the difference. So this kind of summarizes everything. The greatest overage was in the building officials department, which is not a surprise. We have been talking all year about how much revenue he was bringing in and how many additional hours he was spending working on the Region 4 projects. And the other kind of bigger item as far as an overage was in special services, which really is related to the primarily contingency line, where I know we had a lot of the activity relating to dogs and some of the pump activity relating to 63 Oak Ridge. So that being said, I was able to find some unused funds in redemption of debt. For that 2023 bond issuance, we had put in a budget that would cover both the principal and an interest payment, but because it was the first year of the bond, we only saw an interest payment in the 23-24 year. So that left $33,000 that we could take from there. And the other piece was taken out of the police protection department. $30,000 of that was actually from the kind of generic budget that we would use for those special police services. As everyone here knows, we voted to move that into its own special separate fund, but those budgeted dollars still remained. And the additional $12,000 or $13,000 was taken out of the police salary lines. So I will need you all to vote on these transfers, and so that I can make them officially in our system of record.
So the annual report will show the adjusted number, correct? That's what's in the annual report. Not the number that was approved by the town, not the over expenditure, but the adjusted numbers that you were doing. Anyone want to make a motion to accept the recommendations that our finance director has made to do what? To bring the accounts into balance? How should we finish that sentence? Okay. Could I have a motion?
Motion to accept the rebalancing as presented by the Director of Finance.
Thanks. Excellent. That is a 1. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting Anne Marie's recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All those opposed? Thank you. All right. Anne Marie, do you have anything else that you would like to chat about? Do you have a teary-eyed speech to make?
I'm losing my voice. So
All right, folks, it is 9:30. I promised Carol on the way in that we would not go long. Does anyone see, with that in mind, we could go over the budget. Did anyone see anything on the budget that was particularly interesting to them? I will do a quick overview. Revenues are coming in extremely well, and expenditures are coming in rather slow. And with that quick summary at the bottom of the page, you should be very limited, you should be very resistant to drawing conclusions, other than, I think we're doing well. Now, would anyone like to focus on any specific thing? Anne Marie, is there anything you and I have chatted about that is particularly interesting? I can't think of anything. All right? Excellent. All right, unless anyone wants to go through it in detail, I offer that summary. If there is no further business to be discussed, can I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Thank you, and second. All those in favor, please aye.
Aye.
I noticed Carol at the selectmen meeting, Carol
don't get
says
to vote.
the meeting is adjourned.